George Paulo has rightly said, the greatest asset of a company is its people. And to manage people, it becomes imperative to bring in people's managers, making HR the business enablers. A very good morning, everyone. On behalf of XIMR, the HR Association of School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, I, Dupan Mishra,
and I, Jahanvi Saluja,
students of School of Human Resource Management, extend a warm welcome to all of you for HR Symposium 2023. I would like to acknowledge the presence of some of our eminent guests today. We have with us respected Registrar, Father S. Antony Raj S.J., respected Dean of School of Human Resource Management, Dr. Andrew Datta, esteemed industry dignitaries for today's symposium, respected members of the media, faculty members of the school, other guests who have joined us today for the event, and my dear juniors and batchmates. I take the privilege to welcome you all to this grand event.
HR Symposium is the annual event of XIMR, which brings together illustrious leaders from the field of HR and IR under one roof to discuss the current trends in HR, generating engaging and unique insights. Over the years, we have had the privilege to interact with the best in the business and gain a lot from the plethora of knowledge and experience that they bring with them. In an attempt to carry forward that legacy, we have come up with yet another topical theme. The theme for this year's symposium is Digital HR, What Lies Ahead? HR is in the midst of a digital transformation fueled by an increasingly volatile and uncertain world that demands adaptable solutions. As we evaluate the progress of digital HR, in recent years, it has not only become more resilient, but also more innovative. The adoption of new technologies, such as ChatGPT, virtual and augmented reality, and the rise of the metaverse is setting the tone for agile HR models across the globe. As HR, we need to make proactive decisions that will guide the next chapter of the digital HR transformation.
To understand the underlying dynamics of digital HR better, we have eminent speakers divided into two panels to deliberate on topics under the theme. We are very grateful for them for taking time out of their busy schedules to address our students. We'll learn more about the speakers as we proceed towards the panel discussions. I now invite Dr. Mausami Padi, Associate Dean, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to welcome the dignitaries by presenting them with a bouquet of flowers. First, we have with us our keynote speaker, Mr. Dilip Sinha, CHRO, Vedanta Limited. Next, we have our respected Father Registrar. Next, we have our Dean, School of Human Resource Management, Dr. Andrew Datta.
May I now request the dignitaries on the dais to mark the beginning of this year's symposium by lighting the auspicious lamp that symbolizes knowledge and wisdom. I would also like to invite Professor Shubhra Patnaik, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, and Dupan Mishra, Coordinator XIMR, to join the dignitaries in the lighting of the lamp.
Shubham karoti kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shatrubuddhi vinashaya Deepo jyotir namostute Deep jyoti parabrahma Deep jyotir janardana Deepo harati papani सन्ध्यादीपो नमोऽस्तुते भो दीप ब्रह्मरूपस्त्वं ज्योतिषां प्रभुरव्यः आरोग्यं देहि पुण्याश्च सर्वान् कामाश्च देहि मे.
Thank you all. Special thanks to Nitish Kumar for the shloka chanting.
I would now take this opportunity to request Dr. Andrew Datta, Dean, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to please deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Dipayan and Jahnavi. Respected Father S. Anthony Raj, SJ, Registrar, XIM University, Honorable Keynote Speaker for this HR Symposium, Shri Dilip Sinha, CHRO Vedanta Limited, Mr. Prajal Saha, Founder and Publisher HR Katha, our moderator for the first panel, Mr. Amitabh Akhori, CHRO Synergy Steels Limited, Mr. Dharm Rakshit, Head HR Hero Motorcorp Limited, Mr. Biren Anshu, CHRO High Tech Robotic Systems Limited, Dr. Sunil Singh, CEO Mindstream Consulting, our moderator for the second panel, Ms. Mehak M, Head HR Transformation Olam, Mr. Kaushal Parikh, Head HR Bajaj Consumer Care, Mr. Sanjeev Bhatia, CEO Nobility Ventures Private Limited, all my faculty colleagues of XIM University, staff members, members of the media, and my dear students. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome each one of you today for the HR Symposium 2023 organized by the School of HRM at XIM University and ZIMAR, the HR association of our school. Personally, I find this symposium's theme, the digital HR, what lies ahead, and the two panel discussion topics towards evidence-based people practices and the AI-enabled workforce of tomorrow, very apt and pertinent in the modern context when very few people can recall Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma being the first Indian to go on a space mission in 1984, which was orchestrated by the then Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. This is due to the social media-driven reality engineering techniques and information warfare. The power of focused and synchronized digital information is only beginning to be felt and is far from being measured for its impact, but that's modern politics. In the world of business, we are finding that companies like Google have long harnessed the power of people analytics to make informed HR decisions. By utilizing big data, they have predicted staffing needs, understood employee satisfaction, and crafted interventions to lower turnover. Back home, Infosys uses predictive analytics to assess employee performance and attrition risks. IBM's Watson Talent has revolutionized the recruitment process. By using AI, it evaluates resumes, predicts candidate success, and even gauges personality traits through linguistic analysis. NLP is now natural language processing, although we know the older version, which is neuro-linguistic programming. This reduces bias and accelerates the hiring process, permitting HR professionals to concentrate more on strategic elements. Unilever have adopted AI-driven platforms like Pymetrics to screen candidates, assessing them through gamified neuroscience tests. Walmart is an exemplar of virtual reality's potential in training. Their employees use VR headsets to experience real-life store scenarios, enhancing their problem-solving skills and preparing them for Black Friday rushes, ensuring both employee readiness and customer satisfaction. Using platforms like Glint, organizations can gauge employee sentiments through pulse surveys, MasterCard is a master example of this, which employs such platforms to regularly check on employee engagement levels, thereby tailoring interventions as per their collected evidence. Tata Consultancy Services Ignio platform, an AI solution, offers insights into employee performance and automates IT operations, allowing for evidence-based HR decisions and streamlined operations. So, these cloud-based HRM systems using platforms such as Workday, SuccessFactors, Bamboo HR offer comprehensive solutions that integrate various HR functions. Employee onboarding platform tools like Workbright and Talmundo provide digital onboarding experiences, allowing new hires to complete paperwork, undergo training, integrate into the company culture before their first day. Remote working and collaboration tools like Slack, integrated with HR platform, track attendance, manage tasks, and facilitate communication for remote teams. Therefore, what we have today in the HR functions can be summarized as data-driven decision-making, artificial intelligence, AR and VR, augmented reality, virtual reality, remote work technology, employee digital well-being platforms, AI in recruitment, chatbots for employee onboarding, remote work solutions. But our theme today is about what lies ahead of HR, not what it is today. Today we all know what is going on. In the context of digitalization in the HR field, what lies ahead? It is worthwhile to remember that although the concepts of automation and digitalization is hardly of any academic difference, in reality, today's HR practitioners must understand the nuances of these and apply accordingly. Deploying bots to answer common HR queries or using software to auto-screen resumes using tools like robotic process analysis, AI-driven chatbots or automated workflow systems are nothing but simple vanilla HR automation processes, which we are learning from Western multinational enterprises, where HR in India and globally needs to progress is in understanding that HR digitalization that would involve data sharing and accessibility for the entire HRM lifecycle. So what do I see lying ahead for the HR digitalization? Blockchain in HR, although in nascent stages, holds promise for secure verification of employee records, qualifications, and even managing contracts in gig economies. Digital offboarding solutions, where you streamline the exit process, ensuring knowledge transfer and collecting feedback through digital platforms. Artificial intelligence will move beyond basic tasks like resume screening to more complex functions such as predictive insights for employee attrition or identifying which team combinations are most effective. The usage of machine learning algorithms for employee well-being, engagement monitoring, and personalized learning is also on the horizon. The integration of HR tech tools that facilitate effective remote work will continue to evolve, encompassing elements like virtual co-working spaces, advanced project management tools, and remote team building solutions. Continuous performance management will become the norm, facilitated by tools that allow real-time feedback and ongoing assessments. This will replace the traditional annual or biannual review cycles. Employee well-being will become an increasingly vital KPI for organizations. Digital platforms will not only offer just physical wellness resources, but also mental health support, stress management tools, and even financial wellness education. Employee experience platforms, or EXP, will go beyond managing discrete HR tasks to offering fully integrated experiences that accompanies an employee from their first interaction with the company as a candidate until they exit. People say the future has arrived. I can say that for today's HR field. The future has already arrived. The present is already becoming a past. And with this small note of my understanding of how HR digitalization has progressed and where it is likely to go, I warmly welcome all of you on behalf of our school, university, and ZIMAR, and wishing each one of you a grand HR Symposium 2023. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the welcome address for HR Symposium 2023. Now, I would like to welcome our respected registrar, Father S. Antony Raj, S.J., to please deliver the inaugural address.
Thank you, Deepayan. Respected Dean, Professor Andrew Datta, School of Human Resource Management. Respected Dilip Sinha, CHRO Vedanta Limited. Esteemed panelists, faculty colleagues, ZIMAR team led by Deepayan and Jahnavi, Team Illuminatics covering the event, friends from the media, faculty colleagues, and my dear students. Year after year, our school, the School of Human Resource Management, puts up these two flagship events, the first being the symposium that we are in at this moment. And it is an event that we all look forward to, not only in the school, but also it is also the talk of the university at this moment, because our school sets the standard. Following our tradition of next practice research, that's what we have told ourselves in our mission statement, we are inspiring futures. We are here to get you, our main stakeholders, industry ready. And in this task, we have got excellent cooperation from the industry leaders. Because the learning that is going to happen in today's event is going to compensate for much of the learning, let us say, in the classroom. And therefore, I begin by requesting each one present here to be fully participating, because this is an opportunity that is given to you, an opportunity that has been well curated by Professor Shubhra and Professor Arup and the entire ZIMAR team. And therefore, I begin with that request. Now, coming to the topic that we have set for our conversation for the whole day, the digital HR. I begin by quoting my favorite mentor, Carl Jung. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. The human creation, artificial intelligence, has happened. And it is very much present, alive, and active in our personal lives and in our professional lives. As early as December 2022, I was already getting emails as a registrar from our students as well as from the staff, some of them, few of them rather, aided by ChatGPT emails. and the number is growing. Faculty are yet to begin, I think. ChatGPT, plugin aided emails. And artificial intelligence, machine learning is here to stay. We cannot escape. Therefore, how do we bring that into our HR practice, HR theory and practice? That is the task that we have set for ourselves. Okay, automation, artificial intelligence will continue to evolve to take on those repetitive tasks, in the HRM cycle. But can it replace, let us say, the role of an HR? I'm sure that is the most, upmost in our mind as a learner. How is it going to help me, or is it going to replace me? Because ultimately, you are all getting ready for your jobs, right? And therefore, other than the excellent concept set by our dean, respected dean, on what the artificial intelligence is already doing and what it can do, I would rather concentrate on the honing of those skills which can easily complement with the artificial intelligence, which is here to stay. That you cannot avoid it, right? And therefore, the people skills, the organizational skills, the team, working in a team, rather how do we integrate that part with the artificial intelligence? If our conversation can shed light and begin that journey of learning today, I think we have fulfilled our task that we have set for ourselves for our HR Symposium. Because the jobs that require emotional intelligence, the jobs that require human judgment and intuition, and the deep expertise, as in people skills, cannot be provided by artificial intelligence. It is you, the person, as an individual, what you bring on board as individual, into the workplace and into your own personal lives. If we can see how artificial intelligence can transform our personal life and as well as our professional life, then we have fulfilled the task of today. And therefore, I wish the very best of conversations during the entire day. And we are waiting eagerly to hear from Mr. Dilip Sinha, our keynote speaker, who also happens to be a Jesuit product from Ranchi, St. Xavier's Ranchi, as well as XLRI, 92 batch. Therefore, we are indeed very privileged to have you, sir. You will be speaking with us, telling us how artificial intelligence informs your own industry, Vedanta Limited. And I, for one, have already bought the paid version of ChatGPT. God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for enlightening us with your inspiring words. Now, we would like to extend our warm welcome to our respected keynote speaker, Mr. Dilip Sinha, CHRO Vedanta Limited. Mr. Dilip has a diverse and multitask experience of HR in manufacturing, mining, retail and supply chain industries with large workforce in India and overseas. He is also a certified OKR coach from Workboard in USA. Mr. Dilip is presently working as CHRO with Vedanta Aluminium Business with the responsibility to create a proactive and progressive work culture through organizational development, digitization, and HR interventions leading to a development of quality, efficient, and focused young teams in alignment with Vedanta's DNA and core design principles. Prior to this, Mr. Dilip has worked with large conglomerates such as JSW Steel, Reliance Retail, Future Group, Estar Group, and Rajan Raheja Group. His experience in HR stretches across diverse industries both in India and abroad. I now welcome you, sir, to give the keynote address.
Thank you. Respected dignitaries on the days, off the days, my professional colleagues from HR world, and young and agile smiling minds here. A very good morning. I am honored to be here as a keynote speaker on your HR symposium. Really is, I am always delighted to address young minds who are eager to learn everything. Rather, technically speaking, they are ready to osmosis what we speak. Thank you very much. Vedanta is a natural resources company. We are largest, probably second largest in the world, and India we are number one. We are in zinc, silver, copper, gold, aluminium, oil and gas, steel, cement, and now we are entering into semiconductor and glass. Very sprawling company. I look after their aluminium, power, port, mining, and a lot of central and group level projects. You must have heard about Project Panchi, where we plan to hire 1,000 girls who are +2 pass and dropped out from marginal community. Family business people, ex-army, some unique projects I am driving for the group. This is Vedanta. So today I have made one small presentation. Normally I don't make presentation. I am always extempore, but I thought since it is a serious one, let me make a presentation for 2-3 slides. This is typical of any macro HR delivery. We are all aware, right? Organization building, organization development, organization management, ERIR, ESG, compliance, governance, but the precursor is digitalization and automation. That is why we are all here. These are some quintessentials of future-ready organizations. You are seeing moments of magic, which is data disruption, workforce disruption, and post-digitalization disruption. See, these 12 square boxes, they really mean for us as an HR professional. So data disruption, turning enterprises into social, innovation and agility, workplace development, partnership ecosystem. You must be hearing all these words, but believe me, we are all passing through this. We are actually practicing in our practical domain every day, day in, day out. Workforce disruption, I don't need to explain much. Open talent economy. You have hybrid, you have LGBTQ, you have part-time, fixed time, partial employment. All kinds of things are existing. Inclusive workforce, again, going on. Workforce experience and continuous learning, every day it is a different one. Not the earlier cliche type, forecasting future capabilities. You will hear a lot of companies have changed their way to work. Accordingly, the institutions also are changing. I was really happy to see some of the institutions in Dehradun, and actually I am Bodh Gaya, very small emerging IIMs. They have started the course on an MBA in digital, AI and ML. See, these courses are very revolutionary. It is not everywhere. So these are matching to the company requirement. Post-digitalization disruptions, new role for the workers. See, the dynamics are very, very changing. In my earlier 2 organizations also, in Reliance and JSW, now in Vedanta, you will see the dynamics and demography of workforce is almost similar in all these 3 companies. 30% on the roll, 70% off the roll. See, these things are very revolutionary, which are a big challenge for HR. See, 30% is okay. They are your employees, you are managing it. They are governed by all the systems you have made. But that 70% floating population, whose productivity, efficiency, sustainability, though it is on the different role, but the responsibility lies with the HR. That's the real challenge here. Redesigning work, fit for purpose, HR operating models. See, every day we are seeing how we have to adjust to the changing needs. Like when I was in Reliance, we were hiring, Dr. Sunil will agree, that we were hiring a lot of young minds, almost in approximately 3,000 numbers, right, Dr. Sunil? So once I was interacting with these young minds about their compensation and ben. So the answer was very simple. Sir, cash in hand is better than bank. We don't want even statutory payments to be deducted. And every company you have variable, you have fixed, all those kinds of things to sell off your compensation and benefit. You will not believe I had to redesign the entire CNB and 100% cash in hand except the PF we deducted. We had to change. So now things are going on. I mean, every company has to change. Then enabling workforce collaboration, yeah, that is also already in. So these quintessential are must for future ready organizations, and it's going on. So what lies ahead? Digital. See, this is I am presenting what I am following. It is not a cut paste from anywhere. Anything which touches the human life in your organization and business. I have divided those into three: your workforce, your workplace, and HR delivery. I hope these three areas cover entire business and economy, which is shouldered by HR, right? You need to have a connected workforce, connected workplace, and HR deliveries in tandem with that. Voice roll. Yeah. So connected workforce, what do I mean by that? See, ambient knowledge, information gathering from employees to harness skills and expertise, analytics, democratization of big data for obviously better and informed decisions, virtual personal assistants performs tasks like initial outreach to LinkedIn. You heard about AI, now it has gone a step further. Generative AI, you must be using it. Chat GPT, Google Bard, stressed. All these things you are using day in, day out, which is making your life easy. So I will come to that, why we have to be there. The workplace also, like your life should become easy. Multimedia tools, presentation, videos, graphics, podcast, personal cloud for employees, immersive technology, blurring the line between the physical and the simulated world. The quintessential and brass tacks is your HR delivery. It should match. It should match whatever the organization is thinking. So what lies ahead? एक ad सुना है ना, डर के आगे क्या है? So digital के आगे जीत है. Can you imagine, my last organization also in JSW Steel and current organization also, my delivery number one is rationalization of fixed cost. Second is rationalization of variable cost. Third is optimization of AO, asset optimization. And fourth is productivity enhancement. How do you do this? Digital and automation is the only way to achieve. Every day your promoters are demanding and restless. They want productivity and enhancement has to happen tomorrow. These are the only tools. And believe me, HR is the driver. Nobody owns everything else. Finance will be busy in financial jobs. Operation guys will be focusing on their jobs. They are blinkered, they don't see beyond. For this company, I am driving the productivity. I am driving sustainability. I am driving this productivity enhancement processes, getting automation and technology in place, applying these workflows, workplace, and HR deliveries in place, right? See, this is the future, And we, as a professional HR, here all you are aspiring and budding HR who will be in our world very soon. A lot of you are in our company also. I remember some brilliant talents from you, like Sanjoti, Ritika. They are personally, they are in my team. They are directly reporting to me, and they are doing wonders. And believe me, they are extremely tech savvy, and they help me out day in day out for making a life easier in achievement of productivity and efficiency in the company. Please remember, whenever you join, wherever you join, everybody's expectation will be only productivity, efficiency, and sustainability, nothing else. And the digital and automation tools will help you to achieve this. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable words. I now invite Professor Maushmi Pari, Associate Dean, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to please felicitate the dignitaries on the dais. First, we have our keynote speaker, Mr. Dilip Sinha, CHRO Vedanta Limited. Now, we have our registrar, Father S. Anthony Raj S.J. Our respected Dean, Dr. Andrew Datta. I request all respected speakers, faculty, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, and the Zamar team to come on stage for a group photo. With this, we come to the end of the inauguration ceremony. I thank each one of you for your valuable time and for joining us to mark the beginning of today's grand event. I now request the respected dignitaries and faculty members to please proceed towards the green room for refreshments. Snacks have been served outside the mini auditorium for the students and other guests. We shall start with our first panel discussion for the day, sharp at 11 a.m. I request everybody to be seated by 10:55 a.m. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We're now starting with the first panel discussion for the day. The theme for this panel discussion is Towards Evidence-Based People Practices. Today's fast-paced, highly competitive business world requires sound decision-making for organizations to stay competitive. When HR adopts an evidence-based mindset, it can better support company goals. With this arise many questions, such as what are the approaches towards evidence-based HR, what can be the potential obstacles to it, and what are the benefits of evidence-based HR practices. To throw some light on the same, we have three eminent HR leaders with us today. May I now request Professor Arup Roy Chaudhary, School of Human Resource Management, to welcome respected dignitaries, presenting them with a bouquet of flowers. I now invite Professor Shubhra Patnaik, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to please introduce our respected panel members and our esteemed moderator.
Thank you, Janvi. May I now take this opportunity to introduce to you our respective panelists, and esteemed moderator for the discussion. Our first panelist is Mr. Amitav Akhoury. He is the CHRO of Synergy Steels Limited. Mr. Akhoury is a seasoned HRIR professional with 30 years of diverse experience in senior and strategic roles across multiple organizations like Tata Steel, Jaiprakash Associates, and Jindal Stainless Limited. He has extensive hands-on and leadership experience in leading HR transformation projects, implementing talent management and organizational development interventions, and driving business change programs. Our second panelist for the discussion is Mr. Biren Anshu. He is the CHRO of High-Tech Robotic Systems Limited. It's a new age company aiming to augment human performance through robotics and technology. He is a HR professional with significant international exposure in managing multiple country HR processes, policies, compliance, and governance. Mr. Biren has worked closely with CEOs and the leadership team on organization-wide strategic interventions, building operational excellence. Our third panelist, Mr. Dharm Rakshit, is the head HR, Hero Motocorp Limited. He is a HR professional with more than 25 years of experience and has expertise in talent management and development, change and transformation, HR policy design, and agile HR practices. Prior to joining Hero, Mr. Dharm was associated with L&T as Head of Employee Relations, where he was leading employees for the L&T Construction Division and supporting 6 SBUs of the division in terms of shaping the Agile ER framework. He was also associated with Godrej Industries, Mondelez International, Coca-Cola Beverages, Tata Steel, and SL Mining. Last but not the least is our esteemed moderator for the discussion, Mr. Prajal Saha. Mr. Prajal is the founder and publisher of the very popular HR magazine, HR Katha, which he founded in 2015. With nearly 25 years of experience in business journalism, writing, and editing, he is a true industry veteran who possesses a deep understanding of all facets of business, from marketing and distribution to technology to human resource management. Along with his work at HR Katha, he is also the author of the Marketing White Book. I heartily welcome all our leaders to this discussion today. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And Mr. Prajal, thank you so much for agreeing to moderate the panel. So the space is all yours now. I hand it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So we need to do a lot of data mining before we take a decision, and not just based on our gut feeling. That's what. See, before the corporates, I think the armed forces were the first ones to use data analytics for recruitment based on socio-economic profile of candidates. Corporates then started doing it. Some corporates adopted this data mining early, and they got some certain results from it. Things are changing very fast these days. We have got new technologies coming in, plus we have a multi-generational workforce where the requirement and needs of different segments of the workforce is very different, which is why we need certain insights to decide what each people want, what is their engagement level, what is their productivity level. I think data mining also helps and HR, getting closer to the business. Because once you strategize, you need insights to be part of that strategy. But, to start off, I would ask all the eminent speakers today to share what they have been doing in their respective companies. So, Amitav, you were talking about how, you started data insights at Tata Steel. So could you share that first and then talk about Synergy Steels, how?
Okay, good morning, everyone. since beginning I had thought that I'll not agree with this topic. And I have a very strong feeling. I would request all of you to read the book called Blink. Many of you must have read it, by Maxwell. It categorically says, and if you read that book, it starts with the chapter, it says, in a museum, there is a statue, a person moved, an expert of understanding statues and all, and they had paid heavy price to bring that statue in that museum. The moment he entered the museum, he said, it's a fake. And he challenged. And that is where the word comes, intuitive decision making. HR, to me, if you ask me, we are not machines. All of us think differently. All 200 people or 100 people sitting here, all of 100 people think differently. There's no copybook style. In fact, the first time when we started working in Tata Steel was ISO in HR department. And then I moved into the SAP also of HR department. And we tried digitizing the basics of HR department. But after a certain point, we had to stop and we had to say that beyond this point, it is all about the person and how he has behaved. A company where we have worked, where if a person is caught for drinking or any of such bad habits, the first thing is that you should not terminate him, or you should not. Because the moment you terminate, he'll aggravate that particular behavior. So that's the kind of learning which we got, that yes, evidence backup is there, but intuitive decision making is also very, very important in HR department. And it comes from the genesis, which is called as empathy, which is one of the core competence of HR. If an employee walks into your office, or if you are deciding about the career of a particular engineer or a management trainee, you also have to look into his personal aspirational values also. And to supplement, and then I will pass on the mic to Biren, to give you an example, I worked with a company for 4 years. You know, in that company, the working hours were 6.5 days in a week. 20 days, HR, I'm talking about HR, more than 20 days you have to be at site. I was positioned at Delhi, I was posted at Delhi. And I had joined that organization from Tata Steel, where we had come from a family culture and club culture and all kind of things. And then I said that there's something wrong in this organization. I mean, they don't understand what real HR is all about. And then I started trying to understand that, can I find people who are dissatisfied with this company? Because average longevity in that company was 20 plus years. With such tough conditions of working. People work in Bhutan, long up into Himachal or Uttarakhand, Joshimath ke aage. Tough terrains. And people are working for more than 25 years. That actually gave me insight that at least they're doing something good about it. Can I understand, can I get into a little bit of details as to what is that good thing happening in this company? Because for donkey's years, I had seen Tata Steel and the culture, and I'm a second generation to Tata Steel, so in fact, I've opened my eyes in Tata Steel place only. From there, I have seen the culture moving where inclusive, participative and kind of thing. And here is another world where all 6.5 days, हम लोग खुद छुट्टी लेते थे. Sunday afternoon, we had to ask permission, can we go home at 3 o'clock? When we used to ask you all leave, बोलते छुट्टी में क्या करते हो आप लोग? डोसा खा लो, आइसक्रीम खा लो, यही छुट्टी होता है. And that is the kind of culture which we have. I have also seen. I mean, half. I can very safely I can put half into private companies, so-called public sector. Tata Steel, I call it as a public sector, and then these private companies. So these are some of the things, evidence-based. Yes, I agree that they are some of the subject which we must bring into HR and all. But these are only transactional part of it. Above this transaction, when it is strategy, how much of evidence which you put in is important. I'll come back again with some few more examples on my learnings into Tata Steel and all. But before that, I would request Biren and others to participate here, please.
Thank you. I think what you have done is brought the question into the right perspective. And before we talk about evidence-based HR, I think it's also important to understand the context in which that evidence is required. What problem you are attempting to solve. And these problems exist in a certain context. If a business is created, it gets created because there was a certain problem or a need that customer was facing, and that resulted in that business in the first place getting created. And therein, as you are running the business, problems happen, and then those problems are sorted or solved. And all of it exists in certain context. Now, we all know that there was something called VUCA that used to be spoken some time back. Can anybody tell me what VUCA stands for? Yes, ma'am. That's okay. So the idea is that there was VUCA that we were talking about, and perhaps 3 or 4 years back when a similar symposium would have happened here, there would have a lot of conversation happening around the context of VUCA and how it impacts business. Post-COVID, it has moved from VUCA to a BANI. The I in BANI stands for incomprehensible. The world that we are living in has abundance of information, things that are moving too fast and too quick. There are organizations which are bigger than the size of an economy. And if it is incomprehensible, how do you make sense? How do you make sense of the context and the problems that you're trying to solve? And we are attempting to solve a problem. There are two kinds of problems that you solve. The first set of problems are performance, which are present related. And the second set of problems are future related. I'm part of a company which is solving a problem in India with respect to how do you make Indian roads safer through smart mobility. And that, some of you from a data perspective, let me tell you that every minute there's an accident, and every 4th minute it leads to fatality. So our solutions are trying to make Indian roads safer by making a product that ensures that it monitors the hazardous conditions of the road, and it alerts the driver, and should driver is not being able to take control of the vehicle, the system takes control of the vehicle and make it come to a stop or park it, or park it sideways. It's a level 3 automation that is there, and level 5 is something that we're already capable of doing. So I guess the problem that I'm trying to state here is that when you're talking about solving evidence-based HR, these evidences have to be created in the context in which you exist for the problems that you're trying to attempt. And these problems could be performance solving problems, or it could be solving certain contextual problems for the society and business. If that is not happening, then somewhere what we are gathering as an evidence is just existing in isolation. And yes, there is a fair amount of human intelligence that blink and your capability blinks in. At the same time, you need insights, analytics that helps you make sense of what you're trying to do, whether you're progressing in the right direction or not. And that's where evidences are required. That's where somehow when HR is looking at getting the budget sanctioned, unless those data points are there, those budgets would not get sanctioned, and you would not be able to implement some of the key projects that you're trying to implement in your own functions. So that's where the evidences will play a deeper role. I'm not talking about examples. Perhaps later part of the conversations will come to the examples.
Very good morning to everyone. And being the last speaker always gives you some bit of benefit and some bit of the put you in the backside also, because what I wanted to speak, he has already spoken about the book and Bani, so I am not going to repeat the kind of thing. When I came to know about the topic, I thought the thing whether I am going to talk on the legal aspect of HR, because evidence is normally attached to the legal kind of things. But now the evidence is very important. And why it is important? Because in the current world you live, so when the Chandrayaan went to moon, and I know this thing, many of the people are asking evidence, and you saw on the TV that it has actually landed. Otherwise, some people may dispute it, okay? Because long back, a couple of years back, we went to some neighboring country for surgical strike, and people started asking for the evidences kind of thing. So evidences are important. So in the morning session, very interestingly, I heard about all sort of AI, ChatGPT, Watson, so many things. So I thought this thing, whether we are talking about the human or humanoids. Interestingly, because this journey was moving from the human to humanoids journey kind of thing. And being in the HR, both are important for us. Human is also important and the humanoids are also important. Why the humans are important? Because our functions itself, the human resource management. So human is always a very, very important for us. Humanoids also because that makes us more effective. And when we are discharging our functions, it gives better edge to the cutting edge to the other functions because ultimately human behaviors are quite unpredictable. Okay? So some bit of data is required that supports your judgment. But rightly mentioned by Mr. Mehta, that it is not only solely the data is going to support you, but you need to have intuitive judgments also. So empirical and the intuitive, both if you combine together, then perhaps you are developing yourself as a better human resource professional. So for example, like I think long back when the entire industrial revolution happened and we started progressing and evolving, interestingly what we started finding this thing, the data was not there, or if the data was there, it was not in the reach of everyone. In the today's world, data has actually democratized the entire way of functioning and that has also given you the lot of transparency. But what is actually it is bringing for HR? That is more important because the theme is what is future. So future is not, and interestingly in the morning session the professor was mentioning about what is the past, what is the present, it has already become past. And what is going to the future, it is now. So wow, as a human resource professional, we need to equip ourselves in both the aspect, where you are very, very equipped with the empirical data. At the same time, you are not forgetting what is the intuitive data also. I work largely in the manufacturing setup and see this thing, tomorrow how my union is going to behave. Perhaps no AI is going to tell this thing to me. It is my human resource intelligence which is going to tell this thing to me based upon my experience, what I have got over the last 27 years, that it's actually the tomorrow how it is going to happen. You might have heard the infamous incidents of Maruti, where one of our senior colleagues died. And I always asked one question. At that point of time, I was heading the employee relations for the Cadbury, that how it happened, why Mr. Avnish could not anticipate what is going to happen, or Mr. Siddiqui, who was the CHRO of the Maruti, why they failed. And perhaps I felt like the thing later on when I started working with the Hero Motor Corp in the same belt. And then I found the thing, they were working more on the data rather than the human intelligence, what is actually happening on the ground. So to my mind, let's make a balance between the both. Where empirical data is also important, but your intuitive data is also important and combined together for becoming a better professionals. Since you are all the budding managers, so let us not being digressed only to the ChatGPT, AI, they are going to solve your all the problems. Because unless until the exposures are not there, you may become the knowledgeable persons, but you are not going to be a wise persons. And wise person requires more and more exposure rather than just becoming the enslaves of the certain data and tell us think, yes, it is going to happen. And the very old example of aesthetics, when someone was just crossing through the river, and he is just inquired what is the depth of the river. And some statistician was sitting at the bank and he told this thing and calculated that your mean is coming 5.5. And another friend, he came to me, he was 6.2. So he told this thing, oh, okay, I can cross, okay, but somewhere the depth was also 9 feet. So we need to understand this thing and we should not forget the line of sight. So thank you, Prajal, so over to you.
Thank you, Dharam. I just wanted to know, how much of, Dharam, you can answer this actually. So, how much of data is helpful for an HR professional in his, in doing his job? And, every, research that you do or data mining that you do in organizations, it requires a cost, The first part is convincing the management to incur that cost because, you have to show certain returns. And the second part is also convincing, your team and the entire organization to follow those, data implementation as well as acquiring that data. What are the challenges like?
So very interesting question, and I will just like to quote one of the recent happenings. When the COVID came, nobody had the data. How it is going to behave? So we have all were working on our intuitive way, like the thing that we went to the classical way, how to actually to stop the advancement of the COVID in India. Where the Western world were more relying upon the data, and you find this thing, the fatality was more. And India, the fatality was lesser and lesser kind of a thing. Because we went to the classical mode, like a thing to separate the person, to have that kind of thing. These were the old, very small data was available. In the organizational context, because nobody has seen in the past how actually the pandemic start behaving and what are the empirical data comes, and some IIT professors were giving like a thing when the peak will come and when the peak will. So data is also important because when we started understanding when the peak will come, accordingly we will preparing ourselves. In the organizational context, you see this thing, data is very important. But it is not the end, it is a means. We always should remember this one. This is not the end, this is the means. When we talk about the means, like what kind of data you require? Because sometimes jokingly I tell this thing to my team also. No analysis, nothing happens. More analysis creates the paralysis. So sometimes you don't become the slave of your data, that you are doing all the analysis and you are forgetting a line of sight. What is actually the end you want to achieve it? When you are dealing with the uncertainty and the ambiguity, this data actually helps you to overcome that kind of uncertainty, and that gives you a little bit insight that what is after the blind phase, how the things look like to you. Long back, I remember this thing when I joined Tata Steel and Mr. Amitabh was there, and he was working deeply on the HRIMS. And I was literally enthused to see this thing, how beautifully we are able to understand our demography, how it is going to work out, and what the decision we are going to take. And that actually helps you. Gradually be evolved, and now you have the various platforms which gives you the HR analytics like any kind of things, and in the tips of the kind of things, and that support the decision-making system. But when you are taking that kind of a thing, the supporting the decision-making system, at the same time you bring your wisdom also and combine it. That gives you the absolute, or not near to the absolute kind of a thing. When I started working way back in the 1995, it was difficult because I remember this in 1997, I got the first computer, and that was put on my desk because I was very passionate about that kind. And when I joined Tata Steel in the 2001, and there was a desktop put on my boss desk, and he never used to. Okay, so his PA always relied upon the electronic typewriters. So, but I asked, one day I told, can I use it? And when I started giving some set of data and some bit of the picture, emerging out data, then after he was excited, okay? That is the base to start embracing. In the new age, when the people join with me as a management trainee or the GET, I find this thing is very well savvy to the technology, they are well savvy to the digitalization, and they are asking for, they are demanding for. So now there is a push factor, not the pull factor. So sometimes back it was a pull factor, now it is the push factor. It is a digital literacy is a given kind of things, and I find this thing that during the COVID time, it has an exponential growth. So I don't find this thing, there is a challenge to accept the digitalization and digitization both, accept the new technology. In fact, one of the management trainee introduced me to the chat GPT, and he started reverse mentoring to me about the chat GPT. And then after I had a long discussion, okay, if I want to express my thought, how the chat GPT is going to help me. And he tutored me that how it is going to help you. So then after, again, we jointly explored, that is another thing called the Gamma app, where you can give you the beautiful presentation within tips of the time kind of things. So it is not about that new generations are not aware, they are willing to embrace the thing, and they are much ahead to our generation. Okay, there is no doubt about it. From the organization point of view, when the organization thinks that it is going to give you the benefit, today none of the organization I find this thing, they are not working on the success factor or any of the SCM platform like Acrivia or any kind of things. They are all are there because that is helping them to take a right decision and on the time decision. So from all the kind of things, there's a lot of the appetite, to accept, embrace, and to go ahead.
Thanks, Dharam. Biren, what has been your experience, Have you, is there a case or is there an, example where, data has actually helped you taking an informed decision, where, it became a problem solving for you?
Yeah, so I'll just pick up the example from the previous response that I started with. So the situation was, this was a company which was a market leader. And being a market leader, you had a share of almost 60% in the market. And this was a time when, this was India of 2017, okay? And that was a time when also our country was evolving into a situation wherein aspirationally we were becoming bigger, larger, and the volume of road construction that were happening was increasing. What it meant was the speed at which any construction that needed to happen, that needed to increase. I was part of this company called JCB. And the amount of earth moving that needed to be done so that the speed at which build can be done, it required a different set of machines. And as an organization, we were not known to be a market leader in the set of products that were required for that kind and that pace of construction. So one of the things that we engaged in was looking at, for all the 60 plus dealership that we had, we looked at how can we make the workforce more productive and align with the new machines that are going to be rolled out for the kind of construction that our country required. And that led us to carry out an intervention with our dealership. We picked up a set of dealership which were progressive, set of dealership where the business indicators in terms of performance were not good. We carried out a complete organization change intervention. We looked at data points in terms of what is the average sales cycle time for our field colleagues. We looked at what is the conversion rate. If you're getting leads, at what percentage are you converting, both for the good dealers and bad dealers? What were the skill gaps that were missing? What were the incentivization plan that existed that needed to be changed? If you were a product-based organization, how was product-based organization shifted from a design perspective to a customer segment-based organization? And spread over 6 months, we monitored data, looked at how the indicators are shifting, and post that, the model that got developed got deployed across all our dealership. I can pick up another example, and this is from a service company when I was part of a service industry, and we have always tracked employee satisfaction scores. What we wanted to see was, when you're working in a service industry, how does customer experience you? Experience that service is also important. So we started monitoring and correlating the customer NPS score, employee satisfaction score, and business indicators in terms of the performance of those various units in India and abroad, close to 39 odd units. And business KPIs for those leaders were established in such a manner that if ESS score is going up and customer NPS score is going down, then it is a problem either with people, process, or product. And you have to solve it and come back with a response. Spread over a period of 6 months, we monitored all the indices going in the right direction. Of course, there were deviations that existed, but I think the long and short of it is that if you are picking up a problem which is of a size where data and evidence is required, connect it with the business elements also, and then you start working diligently, relentlessly, and see improvement and solve it until it is completed.
Thanks, Vijay. Amitabh, Tata Steel was the early adopters of, say, TQM and TPM practices, which is, again, I think, evidence-based, and they have seen results like, in terms of increasing, not just increasing productivity, but also decreasing the damages and all. So what were the early days like? You were there at Tata Steel when TQM, and I think it was one of the companies which could afford, a TQM and TPM, and many companies could not. It was also about budget, the management believing in it, and implementing it, because you had to get these Japanese guys to come and none of the other companies could afford it at that point of time. Yeah.
See, if you ask me, we have worked in an era where data was only by pen on paper, and then basically Excel moved in when we were growing up. We are this generation which we have not studied computer in schools and colleges, but had to learn to make the work go ahead. On this front, I can give you some examples. Like when Tata Steel was facing with a problem of very high head count, it was touching 80,000, 75 to 80,000. 1991 had happened, and everywhere the cost reductions were happening, and there was a immediate need of reducing manpower. And look at a company which is 1903, the first tapping happened. Tapping means first liquid metal got tapped. 1903, and we had generations after generations working in Tata Steel. And telling people to go and to leave a place like Jamshedpur or a place like any of the very well resort-like locations and all places, it was very difficult. And the first evidence which was picked up then was what will make people leave Tata Steel. It was a 6 months survey which actually happened. Many came and said, I'm staying in a house, I don't have a house, I cannot afford a house now. Some said that my son is also working, or my son is not working, give him an employment, I will leave the company. The third came up that I need some money to start a business. But of course, the top line was, why should we leave? And we brought down the number from 78,000 to 43,000. From 1997 till maybe 2000 or something like that. And in that evidence part, convincing employee with data also. So we had very good, in fact I can very proudly say that that is the only company I have seen, and I worked with 3-4 more companies, the kind of separation schemes they brought in, which is still existing, was implemented. And when employee came up and they asked, what will be my total gratuity? We were still not able to calculate what will be his total gratuity, because at that particular time we were not having his salary detail. When an employee walks into your office, he says that, sir, mera kitna gratuity banega, meri kitni separation amount banegi? What will be my total package which will come out to be? And we never had the salary slip. So first intervention which happened then was to create employee database readily available at the HR officer's desk. And 97, when Dharam got his first computer, that is when I also got my first computer, even many of the HR officers were not having a computer. So that evidence was worked on, and we brought all calculations. So suppose if he says, what is your employee code or a name, any identifier, and then we used to bring out all his detail, kitne bacche hai, what age. So we had done all those survey, and then we had brought all those data into that evidence mapping. We were knowing the person when we were talking to, we were knowing that his son is only in class 12th. He will not leave. No matter what you do, he will not leave. And to convince him to leave, because that job is also redundant, or maybe we had to also reduce, we also had targets to reduce manpower. Cut to the new era when in 2016, 14, 15. The example which I gave of a company was a company which works for 6.5 days, and this is a real-time data on Excel, not on ChatGPT. But this is where youngsters, you have to build on, and you have to take help of AI and other tools to bring in evidence to your table. 6.5 days a week, 20 days away, all tough terrains. Still people are working with that company for 25 years, and we were responsible for recruiting, and we were growing. So every third month we used to acquire a company in Roorkee, then Panipat, and we were adding organization after organization. We had to pump in manpower also. And we had to recruit. And recruit means a cost, because if people leave, that's a lost cost. So my team, I would put in, my team actually worked on an evidence that what makes people stay in this organization. So we did a small survey. What is it that we should look into in our recruitment pattern? what will motivate a newcomer to assess that what quality we should be looking for. The first thing was definitely not from a premier institute. A BTech from a tier 2 college will stay in this organization because such tough conditions, premier colleges, students, they will go off. So first cutoff, first evidence we drew out was what colleges we should be going to. Then what kind of a educational background he has had. What kind of practices of production or other things which he has dealt with. So all this evidence was created, and we did a survey. We also did some competence mapping of those set of people who have served more than 10 years. What is it that they are doing good? And that evidence we brought into our recruitment effort. We tried recruiting people, mid-level also and entry-level also, lateral hires which we used to do. We used to subject them through an assessment. And it was kind of a mapping. So the qualities which we are looking for and the softer skills which he was having, the emotional intelligence which he was having, will it map with our organization or not? We could have brought people from Tata Steel by paying money, but we knew that he will not stay in this company. So maybe we are looking from Vedanta or some other such companies where there is much tough conditions from where people will come and they will say, yes, this is a place also I like to work. So these are some of the evidence-based projects which we had worked on, of course in Excel and such annual data points and all. And as far as your question on TPM and all, yes, it was more about making people aware about the importance of data. When people started seeing the rejections, the quality issues, time after time, every month they are getting repetitive problems. That data, when it was put into the people, they also started understanding this.
So those were basically insights that help people realize the importance of data.
So it's more of an awareness.
Yeah, awareness. It created a lot of awareness. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Say you have probably seen an era where, there was a time where the union was always in conflict with the management, So there, the discussions would probably happen across the table. You would not know how that person or that union leader would react to your proposal and all. Do you think some kind of data would have helped back then, or it was just that, gut feeling and insights and that presence of mind that played? What role would have data played, if you had certain, if you are talking about evidence-based HR?
So, interestingly, when I was heading the implied relation for the Cadbury India, I started doing one kind of research that when the chart of demand comes, what is the across the industry, across the different kind of the unions, what they used to write. And I found a very interesting kind of the pattern, and AI is all about the pattern, to understand the pattern and then predict kind of a thing. So I found that basic chart of demand remains as it is, only the figure keeps changing. Okay, this is the evidence, this is the data, what is actually you come to know this thing. So you know this thing, next time what they are going to demand. Right now I am busy in doing one of the settlement for the Hero MotoCorp, and interestingly we are doing a lot of the analytics, and analytics like a thing, what is the right figure, what is the right demand, and what is the right expectations from the management, and what we should be giving. So then I realized this thing, the industrial relation is not only an art, it is a science and art both. Science is what? The empirical data helps you. What is the right amount which needs to be given, and that needs to be dependent upon, and that is one of the research what I am doing, and sometimes it will come in the form of a book. That when you go like the thing, you calculate what is the inflation, what is the GDP growth, what is the industry come, because normally in the college it is being taught, the industry come wage, region come industry survey, that is on my ability to pay. Yes, these two factors are very, very important, but at the same times, what is the inflation, what is the GDP, what is the need of the person. So when I was working with the Coca-Cola, and then after we have to do one kind of settlement, and I developed the baskets of the requirements, and then after I start putting my own people and try to understand that if they want to have the same kind of lifestyle, how much the amount they require to sustain the similar kind of a lifestyle. So data is important, okay? Data, sometimes we have not used the data, and that's why we become adverse to the data. As a HR professional, you never should become averse to the data. Take the data into count, understand what this data is suggesting you, what the story is coming out, then start applying the art which is based upon your intuitive kind of a things, okay, my intelligence, my understanding of situation, then after you start packaging it, how it is going to be, you are going to sell it out. So both are important, and particularly in the industrialization, let me just tell you this thing, and very interesting kind of the analysis which will come. Before COVID and after COVID, what actually has happened? What is how the entire industrialization in this very country has a paradigm shift? Before, we were witnessing like a thing before the COVID. Normally, the Central Union has lost its teeth, and the more and more the issues were getting localized. What happened during the COVID time? When the people having the reverse migrations, people were not getting the salary, people were not getting the benefits, people were actually dying, they have the kind of thing. I found that, and this is the data and the research, which actually told that none of the central trade unions stood for their own people. They had a huge coffer, but they never supported their own people. During that way time, it was the employer who came and they started giving the full salary or at least the living salary kind of thing they started giving. And during the reverse migrations, when the contract laborers were moving back to their villages, the NGO, the employers, the benevolent people came, but I didn't find any central trade union even put a tent for taking a rest kind of things. And today when you go back to and talk to your union or workman, they don't like to mentally associate with them. And that is the data which is helping us, that my issue is my issue, my issues are very local to me, why to bring an outsider who is going to negotiate on behalf of me. So that's why the data is important, and how you are going to package this data for your own benefit, that is an art. And you need to be the master of both.
It needs to be an amalgamation of both. Viren, you handle a lot of new age workforce, in your current organization. So what has been your experience, The believability on the data and insights is much more, and, they probably agree to, if you show them that insight, that this is, this is what the data tells a story, that, this is what has been the productivity level, or this has been the problem areas. The acceptance is much more.
Yeah, I think somewhere it has also got to do with, and this was a conversation I was having with Mehak when we are sitting in the green room, that depending on the industry that you're part of, if you're solving a certain problem in that industry, which is requiring a research edge application work, the nature of cognitive ability that is required for complex problem solving requires a fair amount of research to support you. Now, the field that we are part of deals with robotics, deals with AI, deals with creating smart mobility solutions. An example of it would be that if there's a battle tank and it has to be made autonomous, then we do that. The question is, how do you do that? How does perception, navigation, and various capability come together so that the vehicle can move on its own and perform the task that a human would perform? Now, these are all emerging fields, and in any emerging field, there has to be a fair amount of research which is cutting edge, and therefore the kind of talent and people that is required has to be such that it's not just we can do with qualification of BTech. You need fair amount of postdoctoral, doctorate students who are working with us. We are partnering with academic bodies so that they can engage with us, and this field itself evolves into an industry as we evolve into an industry. So yes, the answer is depending on the industry that you're part of, the acceptance of what you are trying to do becomes better. And evidence, of course, and data, of course, plays a crucial role, because you cannot put a product out there in the market unless the reliability and validity of those have been proven in smaller pilots, proof of concept conditions, and then you have enough and very many reliable, validated check performed and done before it is commercialized into a form of product. So yes, short answer is yes for a long reply that I just gave.
On data, let me build on the example which Dharam Rakshit gave. Maruti incident, I don't know, many of you don't know about that incident. A GM, our alumni and a senior, he was actually killed, and it was just, what all data which we had at that time? We are working in a region which is Jat, which is Haryana. Second data, average age is 26, 27, very volatile. Third, very aggressive in terms of asking and all those things. And look what happened. The A shift had stayed back, A shift had not gone back, B shift had also assembled. That also data, a split decision, they could have taken then also. But they failed because data at certain point stops. After that, you have to use your own intuition. And just to add on this, there is a subject which is called as ethnography. Ethnography, it is about human behavior to the technology. This is a study, this is a science, and many organizations use this. A very classic example, everybody knows about Nokia, when Nokia also had this data, but they were not ready to act on it. But look at the company which actually worked on that data, was Netflix. And today, the whole of entertainment, which was there earlier also, today also, but the evidence is on binge watching or whatever you call it as, or Netflix has made money, the share markets have gone up. It is all about understanding, and we all as HR people will be dealing, whatever technology we bring in, the employees are going to use it. So you have to be very careful that how they are ready to use that data or not, or that platform or not. We can bring in performance management system, we can bring in any of the attendance system and all into the organization, or performance management. Like for example, reward and recognition, Prajal. It is a very data-driven kind of a fact-based, what reward will motivate people. But still, at a certain point, you have to take decision that who all people will be motivated more by a fairness in the system rather than data. You can always say that patting on the back is very good, or paying variable pay is very good, or whatever. But on all these things, again, the judgment of human is there. So that is where I'm saying that evidence up to a certain point works. Beyond that, it doesn't.
Do you think there is a gap between,
Please. Can I build on that response? See, as you proceed and move up the hierarchy of the organization, it's a lonely place there. You have to take decisions which are driven by a certain gut instinct. That's the volume of experience that you have acquired, volume of perspective that you have built. But झूठा सच और सच्चा झूठ के बीच में फ़र्क करने के लिए there has to be evidences that needs to be there. And all of you must have watched Drishyam, right? So we are living in a world where perceptions, facts are something that needs to be figured out. Okay? There are motivations which are all around. Same data can be presented in such a manner that it will present one picture. Same data can be construed and presented with the right motivation and it will present a very different picture. And all of us have access to the ability to make opinions, influence an opinion, and put that in public. Okay? So in that battle of perception, in that battle of understanding facts and evidences, it's important to figure out what is the right way to go about. And that's where your volume of perspective, volume of experience, and some credible way of making sense of all that is happening around needs to be at work. And that's where I think this entire discussion will become more and more relevant, right?
So, Padma, can I add a little bit different perspective, okay? How many of you have heard the name Bill Campbell? Anybody has heard the name called Bill Campbell? Have you heard the name Steve Jobs? Larry Page? Tim Cook? Who was the coach of those very persons? It was Bill Campbell. He started his career as a football coach. Later on, he joined the Apple. Then after from Apple, he moved to Intuit. And then after he moved to some different organization. And there is only book about him which talks very thoroughly about him. That is called the $1 Trillion Coach. And he not coached only the 3-4 persons. He coached at least the more than 100 people of the Silicon Valley. But there is no evidence about him. Okay? So it doesn't mean this thing when the data is not speaking about something, it doesn't exist. It also exists. Okay? Perhaps our ability is not there to explore about that piece. And that's why we are just forgetting about that piece and that matrix thing, oh, that doesn't exist. But that also exists. So the question here comes like the thing that what Mr. Amitabh was mentioning about all the demography about the Berkman. At the same time, if you go and see the evidences about the management demography, interestingly, one person is, suppose that I have to go to the washroom, I need to take a gate pass. And unless, moving from to washroom, that takes 3 minutes, and in the 3 minutes coming down time, and I am being allowed only the 6 minute time. Okay? If I am delayed, then my incentive is getting deducted. So those kind of the data is also available. Sometimes we also speak about that the employee leaves when we do all the attrition analysis, employee leave the manager, not the organization. But if you start digging into data, many of the time you find the thing many of the employees leave the organization also, not only the managers. So this is the perception which is the half-cooked data we are also create. So while you are digging all the data, try to see the 360 degree of the data, not the one aspect. And very interestingly, one of my boss told long back that, and you might have also witnessed or experienced kind of things. In the morning newspapers, the news item will come, eating tomato creates the cancer. Okay? Next day, some research will come, eating tomato helps your kidney. Then you are confused, whether I should eat tomato or I should not eat tomato. The question like the thing, the person who is looking for the cancer, he will only look like the thing and try to assign that tomato is responsible or not responsible. Okay? And person who was trying to see this thing, how the tomato is helping, he will look only how the tomato is actually helping. So data is also what Biren was trying to tell us thing. Sometimes the interestingly way, how we create the data for our own benefits. Okay? And create the perception around it. As a human resource person, you need to find it out which is the data actually is the right data. And what the story it is telling about.
Yeah, that's what, I was talking about, basically qualitative analysis of the data. Do you think there is a gap between, the quantitative data and the qualitative analytics that we have been doing? See, we have seen in the field of sports, how data has improved the game, for each team. They have basically improved the game itself, be it in soccer, be it in cricket. We have seen that. In HR, do you think there is still a gap between the kind of data that we are mining or the quantitative data that we have and the qualitative analytics that we are doing?
I think there is a huge gap. That's why HR is just trying to catch up. Long back the finance functions or the marketing or sales functions, they have already been there. The operation has already, long back they have moved like a thing, and they used to do the forecasting that what is my projections and how my things are going to happen. HR was always very obsessed to rely upon the qualitative data rather than the quantitative empirical researches. Okay, that is the gap. Let me admit it from the core of my heart. Because when I was a student like you guys, and there was the interesting kind of the say amongst us, when the numeric comes, suppose that someone is giving me numeric 1, 2, 3, 4, as a HR person, my mind stops to work. But when you write in the sentence, okay, the word form, okay, my mind start working kind of a thing. So that's why we always used to talk. But why? Because we heavily rely upon the qualitative analysis rather than the quantitative analysis. The time has come when you need to create a balance between these two. And when you are creating the balance between these two, you are, when we aspire to sit in the board. And you find this thing, hardly any HR professionals actually used to sit in the board. Why? Because we have a story. This story is not being supported by any data. Where you find this thing in other functions, they have the story and that is being well supported by the data. So when you want to become and occupy your position in the board, you need to develop both the aspect together and create a fine balance where your story is being supported by the quantitative data. So for example, if you go and tell this thing, I have done my employee satisfaction survey and my score is this one, and someone just asked this thing, okay, then when your score is like this one, why the attrition is happening? You don't have an answer. How you are going to satisfy your stakeholders, because both the data is not matching. You conduct your employee satisfaction score once in 2 years. Within the 2 years, a lot of things have changed. And so sometimes back, my other good friend Harshvardhan Swain is the CHRO of the Tech Mahindra, and we have a very deep conversation which was happening, and he told that the morning when the employee comes and when he shows his face to the face reader, and by the evening I come to this thing, how many happy faces has entered and how many happy faces has gone out. Okay? And that's the way you can really easily map what is my employee satisfaction for today. And then you can predict what is going to happen in this for your organization. So even though you are mining the data, it should not be a delayed kind of the mining. It should be the appropriate time, just on time, so that it helps you to support your decision.
You know, there are a lot of these HR service providers or HR product companies. They're coming up with new terminologies and new kinds of services on HR insights and HR data, you know. Is that pushing, you know, it's like, you know, has that given an opportunity for the HR guys? Here is a product, you know, I will push it in the management and, you know, this will make my life easier. Is it becoming more of a buzzword, you know, that we are all following, or is it actually, you know, very impactful?
See, before I answer that question, I think having spent some years in the industry, you tend to have a historical perspective, so to say. So I remember attending the conferences where such companies were never there. To see a KK get a funding of almost $100 million,
Yeah.
speaks volumes of the fact that it is addressing a certain business need. What it means is, धंधे के कारण चलता है, कोई ज़रूरत है जिसके कारण वो business खड़ा हो रहा है, and our economy is entering into a phase wherein from under 4 trillion it will become a giant in terms of trillion, and such services will address a certain need of the business. The ones that are able to do so with the right operating model, solving the right problem for the business and function, will remain. Others will perhaps fall off and won't develop into sizable businesses. That being said, from my perspective, the companies that have come, I do believe that some of them are doing excellent work. And if it addresses your problem in your organization at a cost that is reasonable and manageable for you, go ahead and do it. And why take a solution like SuccessFactors? I remember in my previous organization, a SuccessFactors solution costed almost 3 crore for me to implement in multiple geographies. The same solution from a Bennett KK or any other provider would cost less than 30-40 lakhs and still serve similar level of benefit that you want to create from an employee experience perspective. So I'm not giving a right or wrong answer. What I'm saying is, depending on the situation and context, you pick up those services, and if it addresses that need for the employee and customer, go ahead and do it.
But is there a lot of Me Tooism that follows that, you know, my competitor is doing it, so, you know,
That's the nature of business. Yeah. That's the nature of business. Today, it has happened in other areas, it will happen in us, and slowly it will mellow down into a right, balanced behavior.
But which of the functions do you think, you know, I'm open to anyone can answer it, you know, has data analytics work best in terms of increasing productivity, rewards and recognition?
I'll just take
or
that
talent
question
management? Yeah.
from a different perspective, and this is more from the students who are there. I think as you graduate and move into the professional world, and this is coming from some experience, and perhaps my colleagues here can also add. See, we study HR for a certain reason. Okay, part of our education system is such that we know a fair amount of all the courses that are taught. Unless it is applied well for the professional situations that we are getting into, that education will not give us the value that you are seeking to achieve for yourself. What I've realized is you must understand the financial of a business very well. If that financial skill is not good, it will be difficult for you to hold on to your own when you're having conversation with a CFO or a business head. Understand how the balance sheet of a business is getting created. And how can you as an HR professional influence one or two of the elements of the balance sheet, whether it's the headcount cost or whether it is about productivity. Understand that. Understand how business processes work. If you build that understanding, your capability of handling HR processes improves. I'm sorry, I took the question in a different trajectory, but that was more intended for the audience here.
It's like what he's saying is that don't go with the evidence that, this kind of service work for a particular company, and if I implement in my company, it will work. Use some discretion and use what is going to work and what is not going to work. So I was talking about that. Which function do you think where data analytics works the best? Or is more impactful? Is it in terms of talent acquisition? Means where does it solve the problem, where there was maximum challenges and the problem got solved because of data analytics?
So you cannot assign to a particular function, okay? It is a very much contextual, okay? In which context the things are working, and in which context you go by the empirical data, and in which context you go by the intuitive data. You need to identify those kind of things. So for example, when you go for the talent acquisition, easy to quantify. When you go for the talent management, easy to quantify because you have the lot of a kind of thing. But when you see this thing, HR operations, okay? Comp and Ben, it is all about the data, nothing else.
Yeah.
So you find this thing that the variety of the functions, sub-functions within the HR functions, you find this thing that where the quantitative data is required and some where the qualitative assessments and qualitative judgments are required. Okay, so I am not going to assign which one and something like a thing, but even though where right now you are not using the database, try to use it. That is for your benefit, because that is going to help you to build up your story, which is supported by the evidences. Yes, while I am doing this thing, for example, while I am telling this thing, I want to give X amount to my union. There is a data behind it. It is not about a story that they will create the problem, they will be not satisfied, their productivity will not come or something like that thing. No business is not going to listen about those kind of things. But the moment I tell this thing, if I give this very amount of kind of things, I will have a cutting edge with my competitors. That is going to help me. This is going to enhance my X level of the productivity, and my long-term settlements are becoming a self-sustainable kind of thing, self-funding kind of a thing. Business will not take much time to give me the answer to go ahead. Okay? So always it is important to understand what's happening around you and develop the story, and that is being supported by some bit of data. And that is always helpful. That is my recommendation.
Okay, and what are some ethical issues with, HR analytics? Is there a certain ethical issues and where the HR needs to be little careful and cautious about data mining? Yeah.
FMCG find the thing very interesting kind of things, because most of the way you are the sales-driven kind of the organizations. And sales-driven organization, what happens is the thing, data works and your sales force which is working in the field. One time I remember this thing, and we implemented the handheld devices, and the frontline salespeople have to go to the market, and they have to cut the bills on the outlet itself. That handheld devices were also GPS enabled, and we have the big screen where you used to map this thing of who is the person, where the person is actually. And when one day I was just saying this thing, I found the thing, a person needs to be in X route, he was in the Y route. Okay? So you know the evidence is there because when you are going to confront, over the phone he was cutting the bills, but he was not there. He was not developing the rapport with the particular outlet. So evidence was required. This data actually helped us to nip down and to that very ethical issues. Sometimes you find this thing, another kind of things, another organization I found this thing. The sales incentive, we started doing this thing for our senior level sales person. How many outlets are getting opened up? Okay, so why we found a very interesting kind of things. One person, he was in the Cadbury, so 5 rupees Cadbury. So every month he opened the 100 outlets, okay, and next billing cycle we find this thing that no billing is happening from that very outlet. So what he used to do this thing, suppose that your incentive is around you are going to earn the incentive of the 5,000 rupees. You open the 100 outlet by putting the 5 rupees chocolates. So 500 rupees you invested from your own pocket and you earned the 4,500. These are the ethical issues, and when you start digging our data, you come out. So what's actually happening? It is not helping the business, but it is helping the person. And that's why data is very important, and I do a lot of the investigations. In fact, I am a trained investigator by none else than the Baker and McKenzie by the US. So we rely upon the forensic, we rely upon the data, we rely upon the patterns, and then after when you start putting all the picture together, you find the whole picture, what is coming out. And that helps you when you are actually confronting the person, the delinquent, and you find very interesting kind of things, and then person has no things to tell this thing, yes, I was. So this is the evidence that we are exceeding a time perhaps. Yeah? So this is the evidence, the data has supported that is evidence. So I will just cut short my story. Okay? Thanks. Over to you, Prajal.
Thanks. I think we should open the, questions from the floor. Anybody wants to ask.
Very good morning to all the panelists. My name is Vrinda Kataria from the MBA HRM batch of 23-25. It's actually very refreshing how passionately all of you talked about data and integration of digitization in human resources. So, Mr. Rakshit, you had mentioned, and you were in fact laying a lot of emphasis on, you were laying a lot of emphasis on implementing data analytics in parts of the business where it's currently not there. So my question is, in organizations that are still transitioning towards that, what are the challenges that they face and how should they overcome those challenges?
So you see this thing, first of all, create the compelling business need. Okay? Unless until you are not creating the compelling business need, nobody is going to accept it. And once the compelling business need has been created within the organizations, a lot of the stress will start coming. Okay. Second phase is like this thing: make the people aware. If you embrace this change, how it is going to help you. So suppose that you are not data driven, you are based upon the very much on your intuitive and guesswork kind of things. How it is going to help you. So you find this thing that you will get lot of sponsors within the organization who are supporting your decision. Okay? Your job is to create the compelling business need and also to create the sponsors. Because most of the time what happens is we don't create the sponsors and we try to drive on our own. And when you are trying to drive your own, this becomes your agenda, that doesn't become the agenda of ours. That is my agenda, not the agenda of ours. Okay? So third aspect like the thing, then after the selections like the thing of which platform you are going to choose, which area you are going to pick up first, start looking for the low-hanging fruits. Where actually you have you went and you very easily you are successful. That will motivate you and that will also create a pull factor to the organization as a whole. They start seeing the thing, yes, there is something which is coming out. Okay? And that is helpful. So you will further generate the sponsors as well as the readiness of the organization. Last phase like a thing, when you have actually, and I have seen this thing many of the time, you create the platform, you have a lot of the data analytics and tools, techniques are available, but nobody is using it. Make everybody literate about that, and that make also them that how it is going to make their life easy. And so, as Mr. Amitabh was mentioning, 6.5 days working, by doing this thing, you can move to the 5.5 days working kind of things. And that will help everyone. Hope I have answered your question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, panelists and everyone present here. I'm Ishan Sneh from the MBA HRM batch of 2023-2025. Sir, we do talk about employee experience, every bit of the employee life cycle, starting from onboarding to their resignation. My question is, can you please share some insights about how digital HR tools can aid in creating personalized employee experience, again, based on the evidence from the past behaviors or past preferences, employee preferences?
I think all the intellectuals are sitting in the same row. Thank you for asking a very interesting question. Okay, in the morning you might have seen the Dilip Sinha's slides. He mentioned about the two things, and that the two things, how it is impacting the HR and what are the HR priorities are coming, like workplace and the workforce. Okay, so when you start understanding data analytics, will tell about what is your workplace and what are your requirements of the workforce, inputs versus the output, both the kind of things. Then you derive out what are my HR deliverables are. Okay, and when the HR deliverables are very much clear, then you start putting all the programs and the processes around it, which makes a very comprehensive kind of the engaged and productive workforce, which are willing to deliver the agenda of the organization, because there are two things very important: competence and competencies. Okay, so if someone may be a competent person, but the right set of the motivation is not there, the competency is not there. Okay, so you need to develop both, the motivation as well as the capability both. And when you are able to develop the capability through the LMS platform, L&D activity, build up through the reward and recognition, the right set of the motivations also, career progressions and other kind of things. And then you will be able to derive a very, very, very engaged workforce who are willing to take extra mile for your organization. Anybody like to continue?
Just to add to the response, one of the things that we have been doing is when we send across a welcome kit to any employee, the QR code carries a entire office layout where the person is going to sit. It has choices that gets enabled, wherein a person can also get to see how the products are performed in different contexts and situations. So you use such tools for bringing the experience fast forward before the person has even come on board. Now, this is just one use case. There are many such use cases that can be used to create very many employee experience situations and example. I'm just giving you one example of how it can be used in an HR context. For customers, it is being done to create the entire education around how the person, the FAB feature application and benefit for product gets done. So that training is also moving to an AR, VR kind of application. But long and short of it is that you can create those use cases depending on the context that you are present in, and you can use that digital technology for solving that kind of application.
Actually, just to add one more, on an employee experience, whenever an employee joins, many of the data he himself fills in when he is applying for the job, because we ask him to apply on a particular portal, and then he applies and the data is there. But once we validate and we make the data available to the employee, immediately for 24 hours it is open for that employee to come back to us and tell us what modification he requires. And if it is about his qualification, this also adds on his employee experience also. So data is there with him, but with a edge of human touch, that yes, he can come back and ask that maybe his family member name is not fully updated, or parents' names are not there, or whatever. So these are some of the experience. So we immediately don't lock that data. We say that the data is available. You can see it through an user ID password. So these are some of the employee experience also adds up. Like he said, in a company like Tata, way back then, a synopsis of HR manual, which tells about the Jamshedpur city also, where to go, where to eat. And I think Mr. Bhatia and some of the youngsters then had created that handbook, and it had about what a youngster would need to know about Jamshedpur, because it's his first time coming to that city. So about the city also some details were written with kilometer and transport systems and all those. So these are some of the employee experience. Of course, it has changed with time. Earlier it was in printed mode. Now it is on a desktop or a mobile and something like that. So yes, data is there. Yeah.
No, I was saying digital format. So
yeah. These are some of the experiences on digital platform which improves. Yeah, anybody else?
Good afternoon, panel and everyone present here. I'm Resha Mundra from MBA HRM batch of 2025. So all of you are very successful business leaders in the HR domain, but HRs are always questioned on their quantified contribution towards the success of the organization. So my question to you, Amitabh sir, is based on your experience at Synergy Steels, how can evidence-based HR practices help to solve this issue?
What based?
Evidence-based people practices can help to solve this issue.
I'll just add up with one small example. Hanuman Chalisa बहुत लोग को पता है. And the evidence which is there in Hanuman Chalisa, हनुमान जी को जब compare किया गया था, तो तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई. So Hanuman ji was compared with Bharat. But look at the evidence and the care of Lakshman. He had to leave his wife, he had to be at a place. So it is not all about all evidences which are there. It is all about human judgment also which is there in HR, for which at least some of us sitting this side and the senior people there, they have exercised evidence to a certain point. That is where I've been harping for the last 35-40 minutes, that evidence to a certain point is applicable. Beyond that, it is your judgment. So maybe you see, as a youngster, you'll go to your superior and tell him, sir, ye data hai, these are some of the outcomes which I have drawn, and still the superior may say that, no, do like this. So it is about dealing with human being. So that is where it is. So yes, evidence-based is important, but to a certain extent. Beyond that, human judgment is also to be exercised.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else want to contribute on this?
Good afternoon, panelists. My name is Pratiksha Mishra, and I'm from the MBA HRM batch of 23-25. So my question to you is to Mr. Biren, sir. So, my question is that what are certain futuristic HR policies or initiatives that may be taken in order to keep in touch with the emerging HR trends which are coming up?
Honestly, I don't have an answer. What I want to add here is that, see, it's important to accept that technology will always change. Today we are talking about generative AI. Back when we started, the fact that Google was there, that itself was for us a tool to finish our coursework and helped us. If Google was not there, perhaps a lot of our work in the campuses would not have been completed. That has been replaced by ChatGPT, perhaps for you, and the repercussions of ChatGPT is something that I'm sure faculties and the system is trying to figure out how to circumvent that. Things will always change. The question is, how do you ensure that you understand where the change is headed? How do you make it part of the toolkit that you have acquired today and use it to apply and improve the performance that you're trying to chase for yourself or for the organization that you're working for? Okay, that's the only limited point that I'm going to leave you with. I'm trying to understand how generative AI is working. There's a McKinsey research which says that 3.8 times productivity has gone up because of the use of such tools. And another report by World Economic Forum also mentions that close to 85 million job losses will happen because of the way the automation and tech is evolving. That being said, there's another 90 million jobs will be created. What it means is those who are going to lose jobs will not be the people who will get the new jobs. Okay? The question is, which side do you want to belong into? You are at the right age, at the right time, pick up the tech so that you can manage the technology for yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Dilip was, please,
sure.
I'd like to hear from you.
So, I know all you guys are in a hurry to know the panacea before you jump into the corporate world. So again, evidence I'll cite you all. There was a study by McKinsey recently done globally, around 10,000 young and agile minds like you. So they surveyed about the HR policies, how it should be around the globe. I will just cite 4 or 5 outcomes of that, and then I will expect you to design the HR policy accordingly. First, of course, they want to be riches, right? They want to earn money, a lot of money. Second, they don't want to buy a car, they don't want to buy property, They don't want to get married, but they want to be globetrotter. And at every interval, they want to prove their marketability. Hence, all the HR policies need to be designed accordingly. Otherwise, organizations fail to contain them, retain them, make them happy. Thank you.
So I will just like to add a couple of things here. HR used to be a reactive functions, now it has moved to the very, very proactive functions, thanks to COVID. What happened this thing, when you find this thing, a different work place model started happening, work from home, work from workplace, and the hybrid working kind of things. And you find this thing, immediately the HR came up with a lot of the policies, how they are going to evaluate, control and monitor those aspect kind of things. I remember this thing for my organization, when I was given the opportunity to create the entire policy, became like the thing, okay, to set up your home office, and we wanted to give the certain amount on account of the home offices, okay, and that was a policy which was not in the organization before. So one thing came like, I think, okay, to whom be the work, the home offices will be set up. So one of the colleagues, now he's working with the Dilip, Vishal, we both were discussing among ourselves. And then we came like a thing, okay, the people who are having a laptop, because the desktop is in the office. The laptop people can only set up the offices at their home, okay. But we realizing, okay, where the laptop is now, it is also the mobile you are working. So you need to create your HR policy agile and ahead of the time. Thinking about, so for example, I don't know how many of you are right now interested in the labor laws. I'm just giving one very interesting kind of a thing. You are working from home, okay? And you are working from all the tools which has been given by your organization during the office hours, and your laptop catches fire and you get the burn injury. Under which law it is going to be covered? Okay? Law is still mute about that kind of things. But the employee will not remain mute. They will ask the question, boss, I was working for you. Whether it has happened during the course of my employment. So you need to provide all the benefits, and if your HR policy you have not thought of, okay, you are not going to do justice with your people. So understand, remain ahead of the time. And try to always, because long back when the HR guys used to write a policy, there was never a sunset date. Today, each and every HR policy had the sunset date. You need to continuously review it, make it agile, make it resilient, and make it to the current to the time. Otherwise, you are making your organization obsolete.
Metaphorically, I would like to comment, entertainment remains, the mode will change. The OTT will also go out. Something more, a VR would come or whatever. So HR policy is also like that. I mean, what Mr. Dilip said, that today's generation, they ask for a more of a growth kind of a environment, more of a rewarding kind of an environment, and we have to change our policy like that. So that is the kind of what would I say? The scenario is changing every 15 years, every 10 to 15 years. When we were called welfare officer, to personal officer, to HR officer, to employee officer, to chief people officer, I don't know what next it will come. But we are also changing, but yes, now we are more proactive rather than reactive.
Any more questions?
Sir, due to the paucity of time, we would end the session. I take this opportunity to thank our speakers for such an enriching discussion, and Prajal Saha sir for moderating the session. We now invite Professor Kalpana Sahu, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to please felicitate the dignitaries on the dais. We would be now taking a break for lunch. Kindly gather back for the second panel discussion at 1:30 p.m. All students are requested to report for attendance at 1:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone. We are now starting with our second panel discussion for the day. The theme for the discussion is AI-enabled workforce of tomorrow. To keep up with the accelerated pace of innovation, companies are encouraging their employees to continuously learn and develop the next set of skills to not only thrive and adapt to the changing workplace landscape, but build career resilience for the future. Generative AI technology has the potential to revolutionize HR practices, optimizing efficiency, decision-making, and employee experience. To throw some light on the same, we have 4 eminent HR leaders with us today. I now request Professor Shubhra Patnaik, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to please welcome the respected dignitaries and moderators by presenting them with a bouquet of flowers. May I now invite Professor Arup Roy Chaudhary, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to please introduce our respected panel members and esteemed moderator.
Thank you, Deepayan, and good afternoon, everyone. So it's my pleasure to invite all the esteemed panelists and moderator, who is of course my batchmate, Dr. Sunil Singh. So I will start with Mr. Sanjeev Bhatia, who happened to be my boss at Tata Steel. So, and we worked together for restructuring with McKinsey's. So Sanjeev worked across the globe in the domain of HR and organizational transformation for almost 31 countries and 73 nationalities, with a focus on developing leadership pipelines, mergers and acquisitions, and integration. He served in Tata Steel, Reliance, Indorama Ventures before becoming the CEO, Nobility Ventures. He is certified by Institute of Directors, Thailand and Australia on board governance, certified and acknowledged South Asia practitioner for Lumina Spark, a practicing coach qualified from Coach for Life USA, and an accredited associate certified coach from International Coaching Federation. Next up, we have Mehak, Head HR Transformation Olam. She is a transformational HR professional with expertise in enabling and aligning people interventions to realize bottom line results and elevate the employee experience. With varied experience in collaboratively devising and effectuating global country and location initiatives around business partnership, transition management, and holistic talent development. Being an established partner for change management, career progression, succession planning, leadership, bench creation, and employee retention, she won various award titles throughout her journey as a HR practitioner. Finally, we have Mr. Kaushal Parikh, Head HR Bajaj Consumer Care. Kaushal is an experienced learning and development professional with experience in creating and delivering effective training programs for a variety of industries. Additionally, he is experienced in employee engagement, talent management, performance management, coaching, facilitation, and assessments. He has an experience of over 19 years with some of the top brands like Cafe Coffee Day, Vodafone, Mahindra and Mahindra, Reliance Industries, Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance, Adani Wilmar Limited. He is a certified master facilitator at RIL, Franklin Covey certified trainer for 7 Habits of Highly Effective People workshop, MBTI and FIROBI certified, and certified learning and development manager from CAMI. So the panel will be moderated by none other than Dr. Sunil Singh, who doesn't require any introduction. So he is a PhD from IIM Bangalore and has more than 25 years of experience in HR and IR. He has a proven experience in leadership development, managing large-scale transformational change, and managing a large and diverse workforce. As a CHRO at Cadila Pharmaceutical, he has transformed the Cadila Pharmaceutical into a great place to work certified organization. He is an associate certified coach from ICC. On behalf of the University and School of HRM, I welcome you all. So over to you, Sunil.
Thank you, Arup. Thank you, Dr. Andrew. Thank you, all the students. So, post-lunch panel session. And I had a 2 rounds of rice. Okay, so all of you guys have to awaken us. So, we'll reverse the whole thing. So, what I did first, I took the profile of all these gentlemen, their experiences, put that into ChatGPT, and asked them what question to ask them. ChatGPT told me divide into 6 segments, and these are the questions for every gentleman. They were saying that you have done a great work, not my work, it's a ChatGPT work. It took me 5 minutes. Okay, so so none of the question probably which was given to them was my question. ChatGPT gave to you. But before that, I would like to know from all of you that what question you want to get answered. Because we might talk Mars, Moon, may not be interest to you. In the end, we'll bore you. In the end, because the faculty will say it was a good session, or maybe out of courtesy. Right? So let me check how awakened you are.
Dr. Sunil?
So,
Dr. Sunil?
Yes.
Are they allowed to use ChatGPT to ask questions?
Yeah, they can. They can. So be as innovative, use as much technology. You have got about 2 minutes, and this is the reputation of XIM. You have to come with at least 5 questions. And if Subra ma'am or somebody can collect those questions, those will be my questions to the panel members. So I told them that was just to fire you up, prepare for those questions. Now there will be surprise quiz. So over to the students. You just write your question, give it to Subra ma'am.
Yeah, I think that's good.
That will be good. I just need 5 questions from the students. And believe me, human beings are always better than any AI. They will always be. I have that eternal faith. While all of you are thinking, I will share with you a few experiences about between 2014 to 16. So I worked on creating AI-based LMS around 2015. I got lots of flex. People used to curse me for closing the classrooms in Reliance. People say, how can learning will happen without classroom? So this guy is one evidence out here. So there was so much of resistance from the trainers. Trainers used to get power from the going to classrooms. Like this is a power distance. You think that we are more powerful, you are less powerful. No, that's different. More power lies other side. I will give you one more example while you are thinking. There is a friend of mine, his name is Shikhar Roy Chaudhary Kotwal. And I'm giving this example because during the last panel discussion, there was discussion on the privacy piece. So he came to me, Sunil, we can get the complete correct competency assessment of all the people. So we'll exactly know what that person is thinking. So all the question-based competency assessment are not good, but they have to wear a device. Concept was that I exactly know that for which kind of work, which part of the brain must operate. If that part of the brain is showing some activity, that means person is actually displaying that competency, otherwise faking. So I told him probably it's not the good thing, my senior guys would not like to wear a helmet kind of a device. Again, question to all of you here. So now this guy has developed another app for all the malls, where all the cameras are monitoring everyone going to every different section. So section for the beauty products, section for the clothes, everyone. And it is telling the person who is handling that section that which person is interested in making a purchase decision. Is it ethical, not ethical? I don't know. We'll put that question to here. All of you are ready now? Okay, so how much time you are going to take? 2 minutes? Okay. So while you are taking 2 minutes time, we'll start. So, but you are not going to get that question. Okay, so what we'll start with, and we will start with Sanjeev. Sanjeev, now you are working with, I will say, multiple organizations. Being the one organization focused, you have become a man which are working across the industry, working across sectors. Last panel discussion, we heard from multiple CHROs in a way that what kind of expectation they have, what kind of expectation business have. During this panel discussion, we would like to get into the nuts and bolts of it. So it will be useful from all three of you. If you can give us some use case example which you have seen. So first from Sanjeev.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil. It's an honor to be here, and it's a privilege also, because it's not that what I did is a past, it's gone, and not to be remembered much. But the question is what's happening today? What's the challenge which is in near future? Longer future, I have not seen it, and I don't want to see it. But in today's world, the challenges, even working at the global organization, and Dr. Sunil said I am working with a multiple organization in India and overseas. What I find personal, and this is my personal experience, that it is all about agile thinking. Organizations today, big or small, they want what's happening, can I get the solution today? They are ready to fail. And I really don't want to talk much about Tata Steel, but yes, one thing I did along with the chief of R&D, where 200 scientists who have been working at that time, I don't know how many are there today. In the PMS, first time, and this came from a chief of R&D, and I was discussing with him, and he was younger than me, returned from Cambridge, very bright guy. He said, Sanjeev, can we design something for, as a part of the performance management system, that at least they should write what are the 5 failures they have seen in R&D. Now, we all talked about in performance management system what succeeded, what you achieved. First time it was shocking to me long back, and we debated and said, okay, fine. I said, would you like to demonstrate before you expect others to do? And one thing I learned from him is be the first to do before you expect others to do. He was the first person who said, during the year, I'll be sharing my 5 failures of R&D during the year. In the front of 200 scientists, and I was sitting, like he came to dais and he said, this is where I failed in R&D. Let's celebrate it. And why I'm sharing here, he said, that because 200 of you should not follow that route. And that's a learning. That particular dimension of performance management at that time became so popular that fear of failure was been removed. And believe me, today morning, I called Arup, Dr. Arup. I asked for the dress code. And he said, kids will be, students will be in their formals, rest all you choose. I said, if others are going to be, mass is going to be formal, why I shouldn't be? And I wore a tie. So if I expect you to be in that discipline, I need to be the first. Not only that, I'm giving an example here. I learned quite a lot of things. Do it. If you fail, don't ask others to do. Without failure, you can't succeed. Organization today, the fast-moving organization where I worked in last 10 years, when I joined, they were $6.4 billion. By the time I left, they've been $18 billion turnover. What I saw was the agility. Think, do it, fail, move on. Question here is, are the academia doing the same? I was talking to one of the professor, very dear to me, a friend, and he said, Sanjeev, we can't do it fast. I said, why? He said, look, I need to have a lot of data point. I need to make it theoretize that before I teach. Believe me, by the time, and please don't mind, by the time you actually spend so much of time in research and doing it, by the time you come up with the program, the business has moved on. If business has moved on, what is the relevance? It's a big challenge for academia today, which may not be the pace at which I'm talking. The change was not there 10 years back or maybe 15 years back when I was teaching at XLRI, the term papers.
Good. Thank you for bringing those insights on the performance and idea around how the academia can catch up with the whole changing trends. Mark, to you, you are part of the OLAM, one of the organizations which is present in multiple geography, one of the leading company in the agri products, and you are leading the technology transformation. And the world is changing through lots of environmental changes, and all these agri companies have to respond to technology. What are different kind of AI deployment, few use case example you would like to talk about?
Sure. Am I audible? Thanks for the question, Dr. Sunil. And before I take on to that, I just want to take a quick minute and thank the team behind, organizing this entire event. I hope I'm calling the name right, Zimmer, right? The team, you guys are a very, very good, example of hosts. So thank you so much for having me here and treating me, so nicely. Thank you. All right. So AI, what is it that AI is for me, right? And how is it that we deploy AI at OLAM? Or I think AI is one such segment which has been impacting all our aspects of life in one way or the other, right? We speak about evolution. We spoke about VUCA, Bani earlier. You spoke about the changing landscape now. Do we think that this is a new concept? Or evolution has been a part of the very existence of humans in all aspects of life? Consider it your working space, consider it your home space. Evolution is the key. That's how AI has also been evolving, and that's where is the need for the organizations to adapt to this changing need, right? But what is it that we should adapt? How is it that we should adapt is something that organizations need to really, really think through and then deploy. So when we speak about AI, there are strengths, right? AI has to be an ally to the humans, the workforce in organizations. When we speak about AI, what is it that AI has a strength on? AI is all about managing speed. AI is all about managing scalability. AI is also all about, quantitative capabilities, right? Then if we talk about humans, what are the main strengths of humans, that we look for in an organization? We look for leadership, we look for creativity. An example, Sunil, the way you started this conversation, right? We could have relied on ChatGPT, but you wanted to bring in that human interface, bring in that social skills of humans to start this conversation. So there has to be a very beautiful amalgamation between AI and the humans to ensure that we continue living up in pace, in accordance with the changing landscape that, that is happening all around us.
Thank you. Thanks for the insight. So Kausal has been one of the person expert in talent. Ask him to design a program, he will do it. even if he is sleeping. So Kaushal, now you have seen the large organization, you have seen the Adanis, you have seen the two parts of the Bajaj. So sales, infrastructure, power, everything we have seen now. I would like to understand from you a few use case example of a faster deployment of productivity measures through which we can mass or rapidly deploy productivity programs.
Sure. Okay, so that was an out of syllabus question from the list curriculum shared with us before this, but yeah, this is part of the day-to-day job that we face with, and these are the questions which are being generally asked by the business as well to the learning and development team, that whatever efforts that you're putting in, what is the outcome? Okay, when can we see the benefits out of it? Okay, so gone are the days of the traditional measures of, okay, show that this many number of mandates were done, or this is the effectiveness scores or feedback given by the participants after the program and all, that's no more valid. Those are all become redundant. So some of the examples that I'll share in terms of what I have used in some of the previous organizations that I've been associated with. Starting with one of the organization, Mahindra & Mahindra. So in Mahindra & Mahindra, this was way back in the year 2013, 2014. Okay, there was the agri-business of Mahindra & Mahindra was just coming up. Okay, it had a huge business potential. But there was a lot of challenges because it was a completely unorganized sector, and a big player like Mahindra wanted to make it organized. Okay, huge market potential available, but how to do it? Where is the talent coming from? Where are the people coming from? Okay, the people who are specializing in the skills that we want are all farmers. Okay, so how do we bring them? Okay, they don't want to leave the farming job and come and work in an organized structure. So that was a challenge thrown there. So it was a cross-functional team which was deployed, right? From hiring to how do we hire people, how do we manage the performance, how do we develop them, how do we build pipeline for the future as well. Okay, so that entire thing was a cross-functional team was created, and so my role in that was in terms of building a pipeline. How do I develop managers today so that they can able to sustain and build a larger workforce under them for years to come together? So that was a challenge where I was to play a role in that. So we worked in terms of what were some of the nuances in terms of expectation from these people. Okay, because very clear it was there that what we expected from a sales person who was selling an XUV. Okay, the expectation was very different when it came to a manager from an agri business. So we sat with business, I understood what specifically do you want. How do you say that, okay, this manager is doing good, or this manager needs to improve upon it? What are those behaviors that you want to target upon? So those are the things that we discussed with the businesses, we discussed with few participants as well, potential employees as well, to identify what are the gaps, okay, and in terms of what are the aspirations that we have and what are the gaps today. So basis that we identify 3 parameters that, okay, fine. So individual skill development will happen, but it will take a long time because your complete talent pool is very, very different. So then rather than focusing on developing skills in a short term, okay, can we focus on the outcome that we are expecting? So very clear outcome is say that, okay, when we are hiring people, when we are bringing people, okay, we know that they are crude, okay, they are raw talent, okay, they know their subject well, but they never worked in the organized sector. So what do you expect them? At least they come on board and start teaching their functional expertise to the people around them. This is how farming is done. Or these are the nuances of farming. Okay, if you have to grow potato, what is it that you need to take care of? They know their subject well. Can we utilize that skill and pass on the message to a larger, educate other people into the forum? So we take the agricultural trainee route. Okay, so agricultural colleges are there, so we hire people from there and give them practical exposure through these guys. So using their skill, using their capability of knowing the subject well to cascade the knowledge further. So that was one part. Now, as and when these guys are doing that, the performance management, okay, they cannot be given very clear KPIs that this is the target versus achievement that will measure against you. So what the KPIs, the way it was defined, it was very, very different. It was focused more, rather than a number, it was focused more on expanding the territory, influencing farmers, in creating local leaders. Okay, creating every village they go in, identify people who are ready to contribute to an organizational objective. Identify those kind of influencers in each locality or each villages they go with. So those kind of KPIs were designed for them. Okay, and then the third part was in terms of retention. That if people are joining us, we'll also need to ensure that these guys are talking in a proper way or connecting with them in a proper way that these guys will retain. Okay, so that was the third element which came in. So these three elements were picked up that, okay, this is what we expect from that. Now we went back to a subject matter expert as well. We hired a consultant as well. What we did was that it was again a tricky program. It was a very different objective that we required. So we worked with the consultant. It's not a plain vanilla program for you. So you will also have to do justice for it, and you also need to have stake in it. So it was very clearly defined that the payment would be 80-20%. 80% will give you everything, okay? But 20% is linked with 2 years performance of these people. And for every KRA, the targets were defined. So if the attrition remained as it is in location-wise, again territory-wise, okay, whatever, so for example, you have 12% attrition, which was a manageable attrition in this case. So if it remains 12% for 2 years, you have achieved your goal. Okay, for areas where it was more, we need to bring it down. Okay, same in terms of the knowledge assessments for the team member. Okay, the other part was in terms of the performance, the productivity that they're showing. Okay, for all these KPIs, the trainer's remuneration was linked with the effectiveness of the program. So if these targets were achieved, the trainer will get remaining 20% of the payment. So the trainers and the consultant partners whom we engaged with had stake in the program, and they partnered with us rather than coming up as an external partner to come and deliver the program and go. So that's one of the measures in which you create business partners to drive your agenda rather than looking at it as a training intervention.
Good. Thank you. So question to all of you first. So these 5 questions, none of you have used any chat GPT. None, right? No one? All of you assure me? No, I will ask. I'm doing it as a simple experiment. So, I gave some sections to this gentleman using the chat GPT. Okay. Section 1 was about the changing job roles and implication for the skill gap. Section 2 was about implication about ethics part of the whole thing. Section 3 was about academia, industry, consultant, all kind of a collaboration. There was a section around the impact on the collaboration and teamwork. There was a section on impact on the organization culture. And without ChatGPT, you have given all the questions. Is it a good news? Is it a bad news? I consider it as a bad news. ChatGPT has caught on you. So, first question to you, Ms. Anju. So, question is about, there has been news around so organizations are using heavily the recruitment softwares, and many of them use the targeted words. So AI-based CV reviews which the selection committee does. So there has been question asked in the media that it has its own biases. Should this kind of technology be used or not used? Because people who are familiar, because there are also different market intermediaries which has come. Biren was talking about dhanda dhande ke liye hota hai. So there are some people who knows that organizations are using it, so they have started a company also for the CV writing. And they know the algorithm of higher view, they know the algorithm of all these ones, at which kind of words are being used for which kind of roles. So they pepper your CVs with those kind of words. So people who have not used their services will be at harm against the people who have used their services. So what should organization do given this scenario? And should these kind of softwares be used for CV shortlisting?
Thank you very much for the question. Before we get into the organization, it's something like the lion is all around. Whether you can tame the lion or the lion tames you. That's the question. I don't know how many of you have seen the video. where the person in Middle East riding a lion means somebody has overpowered something most of us we are terrorized about. So whether AI tools are scary, you're not using it, or you're really becoming an expert in that, so that you need not be scared whether you run those tools to your advantage. All of us, we've been very scared of, what do you call it, online payments in India. UPI was a threat to many of the people. People even, I'll not take the names and you know about it. I'm not into politics. I don't want to take names, and that's the reason. But yes, some of the people said, what will happen to the lowest strata of the society who doesn't know IT? And this is my personal experience I'm sharing here. It may be all stories, but yes, I had a puja at home. And I think I didn't have anyone to bring those things. And everything in puja, so many items are there, from sari to tikka to pan and everything. So my wife said, you have to go today. And I said, no, I have a meeting. He said, no, you have to go. And I spent 2 hours. But by the time I went to shop, I realized my wallet I missed out at home. I said I had two choices: to go back home, take that many hours, or it clicked. I said I have a phone, use UPI. 2 hours I spent, last item, which I was really knowing that I will miss it out, and I'll beg that guy saying, udhar de do yaar, main tumhe de dunga. Because I didn't have a single penny. And this guy was a pan shop. You need na, puja mein pan chadhta hai. So I said, 10 rupees ka pan de do. Boss, wallet nahi hai. Aake de dunga, puja kar dunga, kal aake de dunga. His statement, साहब आपके पास फ़ोन है? हाँ. UPI है? हाँ. निकाल के नीचे से, सर दे दीजिए. 10 rupees. You had a choice to be scared of that UPI. You had a choice to make him enabled. And you did it. Question here is coming back to whether the organization should not, or we should ask the mass who've been making the CV in such a way that what they do, use those words in CV so that the CV gets shortlisted. It's up to you. You want to stay in Stone Ages? Please. You have all the choices in the world. You want to move ahead or go back. Choice is yours, not mine or to the organization.
So I will follow up this question with another question, and probably I will bat for the person who posed this question. So HR's role also is a social role. It's not about only having lions survive in the jungle. Osama was also a lion, but everybody does not become or learn terrorism to counter Osama. We have also people who do not want that path and still want to survive. So question probably which came from whoever it was, name is not written, is that how far we should actually believe on this one. And I will rather quote one Nobel laureate here. He is a Nobel laureate of economics, George Akerlof. He talked about something called the lemon market. Recruitment in HR is a lemon market. To make it easier for all of you, lemon market is a market which is described by information asymmetry, where buyer and user don't believe each other. So as an interviewer, he will not believe on your claim, and as a recruitee, potential recruitee, you also don't believe in whatever he talks about organization. This is information asymmetry. And on the top of it, you have more power, sir. I'm betting on their behalf. Sure. So you are more powerful. You are using this tool. And since it is beginning, it will be unfair to expect everyone in the job market to be at equal footing in terms of any technology. And we all know the benefit of the first mover advantage. So people with a resource, with a knowledge, have an unfair advantage of getting ahead. And people who do not want to use it for whatever reason have a very, very, again, unfair disadvantage of lagging behind. So not organizations perform their social duty here as well, sir?
You're right to some extent, but at the same time, whether it's an organization or the individual, it's our job. And I think if a country like India, which has got so much of population, diversity, hierarchies, economical strata, if they can achieve it, why me and you cannot? So for me, it's a responsibility as a citizen, for me as a responsibility to work in the organization, for me as a human being, it's my responsibility to bring that knowledge to the mass. I'm a coach. I charge very high for the senior executives. I'm a coach who's also coaching to the students who are coming from below the poverty line families with no charges. I'm a coach who's coaching blind people so that they come to the job market. Why am I doing it? Because I have a commercial side of it, I have a social side of it, and I'm balancing the both, and I'm feeling very proud of the people like this in the society. We know we need people. So when we come to the organization, organizations have the social side. If they want to do it for name, they want to say this much of money I've given, most probably they're not doing the right job. But the organization who means to do it at the ground level, and I don't shy away by saying the companies like Tata's, I have worked, I feel very proud of that, whose work at the ground level, you can bring the change. And hence, instead of sympathizing, being, feeling pity about the person who doesn't know how to write, I don't want to leave the person behind. I want to be fair, even if I am the, whatever the designation you can put it behind my back. If I come across this person, his CV is not right, I don't mind talking to the person directly and saying, why don't you reconstruct it? Is it not the fact when these IT tools were not there for making the CVs or the screening was not there, is it not that as a CV we used to go and ask somebody how to write a CV? Is it not that we not be writing some other things, saying the boss, ये सब किया है, और जब इंटरव्यू में गया तो पता बता नहीं पा रहे हैं? Have you not faced this situation what is given in the CV and what the guy is quite different? When these tools were not there. People have been faking, but I am saying here, don't fake. Help the people to write things which can make them to succeed in the life. I don't know I could answer to you or not.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will follow this question to the Mahak now.
Okay. Before we go on with the, no, not to add on to this, I'm still stuck on one of the points that you made earlier. Can I pick it up?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so this goes back to the group over here who gave questions, all right? Dr. Sunil said that it's a bad news, that ChatGPT questions are matching with the questions that you gave. What is it that you have to say? Is it a bad news? Yes? Did you guys not eat properly? Is the school, college only taking care of the guests and not of the students? Can you all be a bit louder? No? Okay, why do you say no?
ChatGPT is basically formed by people taking people's data only. So that it's not a surprise that ChatGPT's first basic questions are questions that will come to a human mind. So I don't think
Spot on.
basically the neutral ground when it comes to this, because its training data is made from questions that we have been putting on discussion board on social media, LinkedIn, other places. So it is also making questions that will come to any student's mind also.
Spot on. So what is the learning that we get out of this? Not to you, anybody can take it. What is the learning that we get out of this? The learning is the basics of a task, of a job, is what AI can take care for us, right? So what should you have responded to Dr. Sunil back then probably, or maybe, my advice to you, maybe next time Dr. Sunil or Mr. X or Miss X comes to you and says, give me the questions that I should be asking panels, you should say, do the basics using AI, I'll handle the complex part, which is, I'll lead on to the questions. Yeah?
Well, thank you. Question for you. So, we talked about the CV reviews. We talked about probably what kind of biases it might create. We talked about probably what kind of social implication it might have in terms of leaving one group or preferring one group over the other. The next question which comes from the students is about how can the organization balance these aspects of AI while maintaining the human touch in the organization?
Super interesting aspect, right? Balance is the key. Balance is what we try and strive for, again, in all aspects of life. So, I think there's a continuous need for the organizations to also redefine and relook at the roles, the way people work. There's a continuous need for the organization to see that, yes, these tasks can be automated. These are the people who are taking care of these tasks. What's next for these people, right? How do I facilitate these people by providing them those upskilling or reskilling related aspects so that they get ready to pick up the next set of tasks, correct? In the morning, we were listening to Mr. Amitabh, right? So he said that he's been through those ages wherein he used to use paper and a pen for maintaining the data. Then he moved on to use Excels. Today we have a lot of other mechanisms to take care of data. So what is this? This is upskilling, right? So they were using something, then they got trained to use Excel, and then getting trained to use something else, right? So that reskilling path is what organizations need to continually look at developing and deploying in their organizations, so that the workforce actually gets augmented by using AI, and there's no other feeling that I'm becoming redundant. Likewise, reskilling is another area where, take this example, right? I was recently reading an article. Hyundai is using cobots nowadays, right? Not robots, cobots. What is it that cobots do? Anybody knows? Okay, I'll go simple. I understand that you guys are already tired, almost reaching the end of the day. So cobots are nothing but wearable robotics for you, right? So wherein, you just need to get into that, feel Superman and Superwoman, get into that robe, and then the robo will do the work for you. Now, what is it leading to? It is leading to the aspect wherein I, as a human, what I was doing earlier, now technology is taking care of that end to end. Am I not needed? Of course not. But you got to reskill. You got to learn something more. You got to shift your focus. You got to develop a different specialization, which will ensure that you have an employment with you. And that's what, again, organizations need to put focus on. So upskilling, reskilling, training, redefining of roles, these are some areas that organizations need to involve and incorporate in their basic policies and processes. And it has to be a continuous process.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And you talked about the skilling, reskilling, cobots, and you talked about probably how both can coexist. So there is one question around, and Biren talked about this in the morning panel discussion when he gave some data around certain number of jobs will go away because of the whole AI thing, and about 90 lakh new jobs will be created. But he also talked about that these people who will get the new jobs will not be the same people who will be displaced. And fortunately, I will say rather unfortunately, and with every changes, whether it was during the 1980s, 90s, around the computerization, when you talked about, or first industrial revolution, now this one, jobs which emerge, they are the post facto thing. First you see the casualty. Okay. So question which is here that how we are going to handle the potential concern about a job displacement due to implementation of AI. And Kausal, this goes to you. And how are they ensuring a smooth transition for affected employees?
Okay, so in short term, this will create a challenge, okay, because the skilling and everything which Mike also was talking about, you can initiate the process, but it can't happen overnight. That overnight you can't expect somebody to, okay, I need to learn machine learning and I become great in machine learning. It will take some time. Okay, so one, as an organization, the leadership of the organization, do they have that vision that, okay, this is going to hit us? So how proactively are we start making efforts to retrain our employees in the newer skills which are coming up? Okay, are we proactive enough to identify the areas which will be impacted by it, and we start making slow and steady changes in the ways of working that we are doing it? Okay, now this is again a reactive approach. Okay, still a 6 months, 1 year kind of approach. But it's a long-term solution. And that's where the partnership between the corporate and academia again comes into the picture. Okay. Now there's something which, and this right from a long back it has been going on. So my first job, okay, well, after my MBA when I started my job, my first job was as a trainer. And what training I was doing is so we partnered with schools and colleges. Okay, and when I say schools, starting right from KG, senior KG, junior KG onwards, till 12th standard and graduation as well. And the focus was there on development psychology. Okay, the development psychology theory says that at every age milestone, a person needs to understand, learn some skills, he needs to gain some knowledge, and he needs to develop some attitudes as well. And that's where the schools and colleges comes in. The schools focus on the skills, partly. 100% focus on knowledge, but the attitude part is missing. Okay. Now that is something where am I building a people or future generation of students, and academia needs to play a role in that in terms of bringing that learning agility. Okay. Am I developing a culture of continuous learning? Okay. Many a times you've seen that people who join us as management trainees and campus and summer trainees and interns and all, once the MBA is completed, and we ask them 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, what's the last book that you read in last 1 year? They haven't read. Okay. Then so it's a mindset, okay, my learning part is over. Okay, my education is over. Now I'm at a different phase of your life. But that mindset of continuous learning, okay, that's not happening. Okay, so coming back to your question here, the point is that at each milestone age, of course, schools, as said, there's a lot of curriculum to be covered and all, but at least from a graduation days or a post-graduation stage, can we start designing our curriculums in such a way that these new age skills are also made a part of the curriculum? Rather than making it optional, okay, can we make it as a part of the curriculum, where we are building a future generation in the new age skills? And when I say new age skills, not only the technical skills, but also the soft skills. Okay, we are talking about the AI and everything, but some of the skills which AI not will be able to handle, like the critical thinking or the problem solving, AI will not be able to handle. AI will only focus on facts and figures and give you, okay, this is what my analysis is. But the analysis is right, wrong. In the morning panel discussion also, we talked about the human angle. Okay, and that's what the second important skill which AI lacks is the emotional intelligence. Okay, what is right, what is wrong? From a facts point of view, you'll get it. But from the other environment point of view, am I realizing what is right, what is wrong? The emotional intelligence quotient, that is something which AI will not be able to consider. The ethical considerations, okay, the AI will not be able to, and that's where the human skills will be required. So from a curriculum point of view, we start developing both hard skills as well as soft skills of critical thinking, problem solving, continuous learning mindset. Okay, of course, the hard skills also will be required. But this is something that we'll have to catch hold from the curriculum, from the academia onwards. From an organization point of view, the sooner you realize that this is the change that is going to hit us, you start making the efforts. And that is something which will prepare you for a larger blow, which up to a level you can soften it, but it will impact you. Okay, if you expect 6 months down the line, this technology we are adopting and this many layoffs will happen and it will impact the organizations. There is no solution to it. Okay, there is no short-term solution. But yeah, you can soften the blow. Okay, you can help your employees with replacement. within the organization or outside the organization? Can you provide that opportunity to other people? Can you provide the opportunity to give them, to put them on bench? Of course, that IT concept. With 6 months you put on bench, let them go and learn the new skills. If they're able to do that on their own, hire them. Okay, but those are the measures which the organization will have to take care to soften this blow.
I like to add something. Okay, so I will ask you. So significant inputs. In fact, I was coming to you only on that one. So you add to this one, but one follow-up question, and you can answer both together. And we have been talking about the academia collaboration part. And the industry can do only so much. And especially when it comes to the social angle part of it, there will always be that commercial interest, profitability, running of the business, all those parts. And that's where industry can, so academia can help a lot in building the workforce for future. So what kind of new probably courses or interventions which academia should take to help the workforce and in turn help the industry as well?
Yes, that's very interesting. And coming before that, just I'm trying to touch. It's a question to all of you. Till what age is the learning happens? Louder, yaar. Lifelong means what? 70? 80? 90? 100? Very good. I was, two examples I'll give you. Day before yesterday, I was just finishing preparing a workshop which day before yesterday. Yeah, day before yesterday I finished the workshop. I was just thinking what Dr. Sunil has sent. I could make it out from ChatGPT. First thing I did was ChatGPT. I got all the answers here. And I knew that I'm not going to use it. But I'm carrying it. So, I came across a beautiful video. The viral videos are very common nowadays. A lady of 90-year-old becoming a professional barber, means opening a shop, 90 years. Another lady becoming a world champion in the category of 90 plus swimmers, and her age is 105 years. And she actually started learning at age of 90. Now, question is, when the learning stops? Never. It's been a very bold statement said. And what we think, and you're right when you said, after college we think, yes, you're finished, I am the one who always thought, boss, college khatam, abhi masti. Because when I was doing 8th, I was told do 10th. When I did 10th, I said do 12th. When I finished 12th, there's a professional course, and all these things was happening. And nothing unusual, nothing uncommon. And gold behold, when, I really stopped reading, to be very honest with you. But there was some fast track in 1996 and promotion, and then, to biggest of my surprise, I was transferred in the training center for the managerial training. I said, back to books. It was a punishment to me, but most probably that made my life further. So that's number one. So what is the academia can do? What all we can do? Another point which I'll take it from my friend here is the mindset, the attitude. It's a time now to rethink entirely from the whole system, right starting from the society, right from the age, the first time the kids go to the school. What is the critical thinking? What is design thinking? What is the risk-taking ability? Not to fear for failure. And if that happens, you don't have to worry about your exams. You don't have to worry about ChatGPT or any PT. You need to be taking risk. And that's where it all depends. Academia's, even the institute, like this renowned institute, you can't do it. You need to really mold the product. Sorry, I'm using all of you as a product. The kind of raw material you got, only you can shape it to some extent. So it depends on what raw material is coming. It has to be the quality raw material comes. You can do wonders. So when you talk about mindset, starts from the beginning. We don't have time, I agree. But for me, it's a very radical thinking when you ask the question. 30 years back, when I was back out from the college, is there anything relevant to me? Zero. Even 5 years back who passed out, is there anything much relevant to them? Hardly. Is it not the time that we should put it, my qualification validity date is this. After that again I have to go back to the school or the college because it's no more relevant. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not. For me it's very important to come back to institute and learn. Can the academia bring those kind of courses for me to learn something what is new coming in? I will be as fresh as you are going to be in the business world. So it's not a question of what position I am in, because I'm also giving an example which I did an experiment, very, very complicated organization. When you grow inorganic, every time, even today I'm sitting here, that organization I left, they have 5 to maybe 7 M&A cases are going on. Now the rampant growth, different culture, different nationality, different language, different systems. And then when you're putting as a global HR head the organization structure, the hierarchy, the fat positions, low fat position, no fat position. I made this structure which was never got implemented. I was going crazy. I said, okay, regional, not department-wise, regional-wise. Matrix organization, water organization I knew, nothing worked. Nothing, believe me, I'm honest. I failed. I said, then what is working? How the organization is working at least? Let me analyze that. I got into something which I had never used it before. What not organization structure, which was there of course, but nothing used, is organization networking. We started making a circle, which position is networking with how much territory, what is the size of the circle, smaller circles, middle-sized circle, different colors, and making the rows. And that is how the structure came. I have a slide, if you can see that, it's not from me, it is from Deloitte, which I saw it recently. So from fixed structure at a given point of time, then agile structure, which is called organization networking. And it's working well now. So I'm just saying, these are the learning from failures, but I'm saying, can I relearn from the academia? Dean sir, if you can design a program for some mean, I'll be happy to join. Academia has a role.
Yes, thank you. That was a great insight. In fact, that's something which academia must work on. Your point on the kind of mechanism where people have the expiry date, come back, renew, go back, that's probably the future. That's really, I will say, far-sighted thinking.
So, थप्पड़ खा रहे हैं तो इसलिए बोल रहे हैं.
नहीं. So, two very quick questions to two panelists, and then I will come back to you. I know time is 2:50, right? The two young colleagues, we are also young at mind, so no disrespect to each other. Which are the two, so both of you have to give example of one AI product which you are looking at, oh, okay, this is how we should develop, and why you are looking at that product in a awe. Okay. To both of you.
So I'll go first. I have recently deployed a very unique way of detecting and mitigating bias while selecting candidates. I'm not saying, shortlisting candidate. I'm not saying the final selection, but till that state, right? So there's this tool that we have deployed. I'm not going to give the name of the tool. These gentlemen, I'll charge you if you want to know about the tool later on. But yeah, on the lighter side, the tool is called as Skillate. So we have deployed this. So what happens is, in my organization, I'm also driving the charter around diversity. So not because I'm a woman and it's not only gender centric, I genuinely feel that every individual has a right to opportunity. Hence, I am very, very passionate about this particular aspect of my portfolio. And that's where this tool created that awe for me, how I can actually do away with this bias of bringing in only a certain set of people in a team, right? So irrespective of how the managers come and say that, oh yeah, I'm open to hire anybody, role matters more, skill set matters more, there's always a bit of a human bias as soon as the person will get to know, oh, is she a Punjabi? I am too, let me get her. Oh, is she from this city? Oh, something like that, right? So this tool will shortlist candidates in a manner, give scoring in a manner that there is no depiction of the personal attributes of the person to the manager who has to shortlist. It's like the scoring goes, all right? Profiles get shortlisted. Till the time the final interview happens. Before that, there is a screening that happens on videos. It happens between the tool and the candidate. Till the time the candidate reaches the finalist zone and for meeting the manager for a final discussion. Before that, all the assessments are done, all the checks around whether I'm good at skill sets, am I fitting into the role or not, check, done. The manager just gets to see that scoreboard attached to an individual. Who is that individual? Where is he coming from? What has he or she done? All of that are removed. So I feel that, I've been trying to find one tool which really detects bias and, just ignores this aspect of, I'm going to favor certain set of individuals, right? So this tool does it beautifully to the extent that, if I talk about gender diversity, when I picked up this charter, it was not that great for the company. But with the new set of hires that we have started doing, we deployed it about, 6-7 months back. The gender diversity ratio, still not that great, but we are hitting the 70:30, notes, and that too in a manufacturing setup, right? So this is one tool that really makes me feel that yes, it is very close to what we are trying to achieve as an organization. And personally, individually, it also makes me feel very good and boosts my confidence that yes, what we are trying to detect and do away with in terms of biasness, Skillet is something which is helping us too.
Oh, fantastic. So this was the one question also from the participants. So good that you talked about the bias part and how that can be handled. So your question was about how bias can be handled in using the AI. So good. Kaushal, to you.
Sure. So this initiative, okay, there's something which I am envisioning, and there's in parts, in pockets, in a different organization. I've tried in some places, some technologies available, but as a whole, something which is missing, and this is in the area of career management. Okay, in organizations, when we talk about talent management, at least only for the selected few. That if you are a great performer, we assess you, and then you find out, okay, you can take up higher level roles in 0 to 12 months, you are a talent for me. But that is only a handful of people, 8-10% in the entire organization are identified as a talent. But what about rest of the 90% of the organization? They also have aspiration of their careers. Okay, so this tool that I'm envisioning is and something which was tried at one of the organizations for only sub-department. We were able to do it because at that point of time, this AI kind of technologies were not available, and it was sort of a manual process that we had to do. Like every employee can just come on the platform and from a career aspirations point of view, he can fill it up. Okay, his basic form input sheet. What are the career aspirations? What are the current education qualification, number of years of experience? What are the kind of skills that we focused on in the past? There's an option of skill assessment also, which the person can take through and all. And basis that the system can throw, the platform can throw that, okay, if you want to grow in the same department, these are the 3 or 4 role options available for you. And to move from role A to role B, there's the kind of skill gaps, there's the kind of time gaps, there's the kind of experience gap that you will have to cross in order to reach there. There's another option as well, that okay, if you don't want to go into the same department, you want to do cross-function, these are other options available, and this is the path that you can take. And this then integrated with a learning platform. Okay, of course, learning experience platform takes care of it, but it is not integrated with the career framework. But both things hand to hand. That I know that in 2 years I can take up this level role, and these are the skills which that I need to develop, and there's a learning repository available for me. I pick it up and move there. And then going forward as well, the platform algorithm should be so strong that once that the credentials are achieved, the organization can straight away handpick this person to the newer level roles. Okay, now that's where the entire career management framework you're giving in the hands of the employees. Okay, what it does is an outcome, very, very high level of engagement, because the employee knows that I can build a career here and I have multiple options available. I don't need to depend on somebody else to come and tell me or do a career counseling with me that, okay, these are the possibilities available for me. I am not limited by my own thoughts. Okay, the platform can throw me options which I had never thought about. Okay, my skill set, I am a finance executive, but my skill sets are more relevant to a supply chain procurement team. Why can't I explore that? I have never even thought about that. But those are the options can open up. And that's something which I feel that greatly benefit the organizations as well.
Thank you. So Kausal gave you the product architecture, which one of you can build.
Can you talk about one tool?
Yeah? One more?
One tool.
Okay.
I have used only one.
Okay.
Any of you have heard of the tool called HireView? Wow. How many have used it? HireView. Okay. This I came across 6 months back. I had a client and he's in South Africa, and I was sharing this in the green room with my team here. And the gentleman, my coaching was over and he called me, he said, Sanjeev, I won't talk. I said, fine. Odd hours because of the India time and that time, but I was talking to him and he said, Sanjeev, he's already in the board of one South Africa company. He's also on the board member of a African association somewhere, a group of company. And he was supposed to get interviewed for a global company board. And he says, Sanjeev, I need your help. I said, what happened? He said, I have to face HireView before I get the final round. I said, what's that? He said, there's some tool. I don't know. Can you help me? I want to prepare. Can you coach me? I said, I don't know. Give me a week's time at least. As a search, I have a friend in AI. I asked him. He said, yeah, there's a tool. I said, what is the background of that tool? Trying to understand how it is built. I couldn't get much, but I understood there's a technology, there's an NLP. NLP is not neurolinguistic, it is natural language processing, which of course reads your eyes, your expression, you are looking this side, that side, you're thinking, and with your expressions, your tonality, it can catch you what may be probability you are going to go through. Like a coach, you really work on that. Really, I really gave him a lot of tips. I practiced with him. Finally, he was into final round because that machine cleared that. But again, it's a question of your earlier question, should we do it or not? We should do it. We should try and explore every time. We fail even, then we have to use it.
Good. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So we'll come to the questions from the students. I already have a list from all of you. But I would like to give a face to each of these questions. So instead of me reading, I would like to see your face asking that. So before that, probably I will take 2 minutes before I come to you. So I started with, so I will share my biases. I always believe that human beings will win. So they have the eternal capability to win. At the same time, I said that if the ChatGPT question and your question is the same, it's a bad news. So when I was starting this discussion, Professor asked me that, Sunil, if I don't hear research from you, that will be bad. So they want to hear some research as well. And Mike talked about the tool which you are deploying. And there's a very interesting match. About 6-7 months back, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, I ran a survey on 2 aspects. So in the recruitment, there are 2 kinds of biases managers have. One is the positive selection bias, one is the negative selection bias. So it's like if I see something in you, I say selected. Your chance of selection goes up. That's the positive selection bias. And if I see something in you, I say, probably I will not consider. That's the negative selection bias. Even before asking any question, by the way. And on the top of it, and there are about 1,000+ sample size of this survey. What came, language was the first bias. If I see that this person is speaks the same language as me, I will probably hire. Second bias was the college where you come from. That was second number. And third number, what it could be, tell me. Language was number one. Number two was the college, for the positive selection. What can be the third for a positive selection?
Looks. Guess it.
In a way, behavior just like me. And fourth was, again, was the caste and those aspects. So that's also was a, so these were the top four which came. So good that you are using that tool. Yeah. So that kinds of does the blind selection. Now coming back to the bad news part which we discussed. So see, the educational institution, so you talked about till college, when we were doing 6, we want to do 7th, 8th, 9th, 10. Everybody looking when we'll get free, and you see that you're posting in a training center is a punishment. So I think probably till now you are learning how to learn. After this you will learn without any schedule or the calendar or the teacher. You will be your only one teacher. So, and again this is not my thing. So one of the biggest thing which will happen after, which will become important after AI comes into place is not the information. The information mining, whether it's a qualitative, quantitative, whatever you call it, it can mine both types of data. Both are data. Our role, human beings' role will be that what we call the combinatorial role. What AI will take a longer time to see the model, I still believe human brain is the biggest computer to analyze. I can see pattern much faster. That will be the role. And that's where in the HR field, psychology is getting more dominant nowadays. And in the psychology, there is a concept called the abduction skill. You know what is the meaning of abduction? Not from a psychology perspective, general meaning. अपहरण करना, सुना है ना? So if you have to do किसी का अपहरण करना पर किसका अपहरण करोगे? सबसे कोई धनी होगा जिससे पैसा ज़्यादा मिले. So in a market there are thousands of people, lakhs of people. How will you pinpoint कि किसका अपहरण करना है? Person who will be good at it, who can point out that person. So here, all of us who can point out that important information, there can be thousands of possibilities which can come from different chat GPTs. So that's the skill we have to build. That's the way we can win. So whether it was chat GPT, whether it was you, we all predicted the same question, because that's a dominant question. You said it right. So that's where we are at this point of time. But we will win, we will continue to win. Now over to all of you. I want to see the faces of this question. And if you like to hear from a specific panelist, you can ask that person's name as well. Subra?
Yeah, there is a hand there.
Yes.
Good afternoon, panelists. I am Rashi Sahu from MBHRM batch of 23-25. My question is to Mahak ma'am. Ma'am, how can we assure that AI-enabled workforce tools are accessible and user-friendly for employees of various technical background?
Thank you. Thanks for your question, Rashi, and you can sit down while I'll
Thank you.
answer. We can interact if you want, during that. Yeah. So, any AI or any automation that you bring into the organization, the key component that organizations need to take care of is the design bit. That's where you got to involve the users, at the very initiation, at the very basic step, so that when the end result is out, it can be related by the users, for the users, to the users. right? So from the very beginning, I mean, this is a very basic technique, that we try and deploy at our organization as well, that every time we have a decision that this is the area where we need to bring in automation, this is the category that we want. We try and put together cross-functional task forces, right, wherein we try and have the representation of users, of all the role holders who will be using that automation from the very beginning. So that when we are scoping out, when we are putting the scope together of a respective, automation or any app that we are bringing in, the user's viewpoints are captured in from the very beginning. When we ensure to do that part right, I as a user want this thing to be done in a certain way. When I work on the tool and that tool actually does that work for me, the utilization will be more. The accessibility challenges that you feel that people may not adapt it, may not access it, may not use it, all of that will be taken care of. So that user design interference in a positive way from the very beginning is a must to address to the concerns that you raised. Could I answer your question?
Yeah. So just to add to it, a technical term used for this is human-centric and collaborative. So all the process that you're defining, you keeping person in the picture and not the technology. You align technology to the person's requirement. And second is collaborative AI. Okay, so the AI should support the user, okay, and not the other way around, or neither contradict each other. So it's human-centric and collaborative.
So I just have one more point to add here. We were talking about the research, right? So while I don't do researches, but then I like to read research to just have some facts and talk about it, during these discussions. So there was this very interesting survey that Gartner did last quarter of the last year, wherein they tried to put together some 1,500 organizations together and wanted to analyze how is their growth linked with the adoption of AI in the organizations. So very interestingly, organizations who say a big no to automation and AI, only 20% chance of them to grow at a level that they want to grow, right? Organizations who try and put automation ahead of humans, as in replacing humans with automation, only 40 to 45% chances of them to achieve their targets to meet the growth. And very interestingly, organizations who are able to strike a balance, making sure that automation is what leads and helps humans to achieve the organization goals, the likelihood of the organization to grow at a set target or rate is 70-75%. So that's where, to what he was trying to allude at. Do you need automation? Yes, we do. How much of it you need? What are the areas that you need it for? And how is it that organizations should go about, arriving at this message within the organization? These 2-3 areas need to be really, really thought through, then go about bringing in automation. Not that, just because it is cost effective, let me get it. Let me get rid of people and, this thing can do the work. No, it has to be a combination. AI can always be a co-pilot. It can always be an assistant. It can always be a typist, but it can never replace humans. The creativity behind the entire facade has to be humans.
Next question.
Good afternoon, panel members. My name is Ananya Jaina. I am from MBA HRM batch of 22-24. So my question is to Kaushal sir, that AI enablement in the organization might lead to job polarization, wherein certain jobs are more impacted than others. So how could an organization do something to prepare the workforce towards this kind of shift and provide them with equitable opportunities?
So if the organization has time to deploy, then the reskilling is the most important part. Okay, you know that which are the parts of the business which are going to be impacted by it, and you start reskilling your people on the newer technologies which are coming in. But only then, if you have that, the organization has a foresight to see that we'll have at least an year before we'll deploy. Okay, there's an entire change management process which needs to be followed. Understand what is the objective that we're trying to achieve, and then work backwards toward it, anticipate all the challenges which might come in, and have a backup ready for it. Okay, so it's a long-term process. There's no short-term solution for it. You can't say that tomorrow onwards I'll introduce this technology and this guys will be redundant from tomorrow. You can't do that.
One last question.
Good afternoon all. My name is Shubhendu Haldar. I am from the MBA HRM batch of 23-25. So in our pre-lunch discussion as well as in this discussion, we focused that the evidences of facts and as well as the AI is a means and not an end. Whereas the human intelligence, the human wisdom, our experiences and intuition are something that we should focus on. So what would be your suggestion so that we can enhance these aspects so that we can make better use of the tools in hand?
So let me probably attempt this one. And answer actually was given earlier by the Kaushal and as well as Mehak as well. So keep the person in the mind, keep the human in the mind. Today we are in an era where there is no dearth of the technology or the tool. So whenever you are thinking about problem solving, don't think about a tool. Visualize the solution. Once you have created a solution, find a tool. That's the best way. Never ever create a solution around the tool. That's the biggest mistake of life you will do. Then you are fixing the solution to the tool, not to the person who is getting impacted. Bring that person in the center. You will find 90% of the tools, probably 10% you will create yourself. That's how it is.
So very rightly said, I think this is a young crowd, so you would know that there are many AIs that organizations use to take care of the customer service bit, right? Like Microsoft uses Cortana, Apple uses Siri, right? Of course, the need identification is the first step, as Dr. Sunil said. After that, what is it that organizations need to do is train the tool. Train the tool to the needs of the organization. For Cortana, just read, there are very interesting articles available online. There was a playwright, there was a poet, and there was an artist. These three people were deployed to train Cortana to the needs of the organization so that the voice that Cortana uses, the answers that Cortana gives, all of that is very well aligned with the customer segment of Microsoft. So goes for Siri, right? There was a different kind of a human set deployed to train Siri because there was a need for that sassiness in the voice of Siri because it was dealing with the customer segment of that kind, right? So identification is step one. Second step is train. Train the tool to your needs. It should not be the other way around. You got to make the tool ready to do your purpose, not that the tool should be, coming and making you do stuff in the way the tool is, probably made to perform. Yeah. And then the third one is sustain it. Sustain it in the way that makes sense to your organization. Probably the way Apple, right? It keeps on bringing the next updates with every new phone that they launch, right? Like that for your tools also. You got to ensure that you sustain what's working well and you continually evolve and bring about the changes that are going to make more sense to the organization. So it's a decision that lies with the organization, not with the app or the tool.
I'll just add something. Sure. I think, first of all, you stumped me with your question. I didn't have the answer. And be honest with you. But then I said yes. It reminded me about a survey which Deloitte did in 2022. And 91% of the organization, the question was about their readiness for AI for the industry. 91% of them, they responded, yes, we are ready and we are equipped. And they said, what? They said, now we have a plan. We have very good projects. They have collaboration with the big consultants. And they are getting into human-machine interface. A lot of things. And I know if you go and Google it, you'll find a lot of manufacturing industries are going in a big, big way. I personally visited in Germany, BCG Gamma lab. Machine, when you ask the machine about something, it's saying my oil. The way vehicle now today, latest vehicles, four-wheelers, you got a mobile going down, oil going down, seat belt not there, door is loose, any kind of thing. In my vehicle, there's 70 signals, 70. It's huge, sensitive signal. And every time I have to see which one is going wrong. I need to really understand, I have to learn what signal means what. Now, this machine, when I saw that, it was saying that, and they showed us, this particular component will last for this much. You need to replace this component by this time. The cost of replacement is this versus running this beyond this point is this. You can replace this component by this vendor whose costing is this. He's done the entire cost-benefit analysis with the timeline. It was mesmerizing for me. I haven't seen so far that kind of thing. Now that's one machine-human interface. What is missing here? Human-to-human interface is not yet captured. There's a big void at the moment. But if you are the youngsters going to the organization, I have personally faced this when I was new, and you'll find you have a one hierarchy structure-wise, one boss, but you'll have multiple boss, always. I'm sure they must be having multiple boss too. I had always. You are reporting to one, but expectation of from 5 bosses are there. Sanjeev, you're not done this, you're not done this. Now here, you may come across a kind of a conflict because 2 seniors are not compatible to each other because of their mindset. And both of them expect you to do something. You're quite frustrated. And actually you are writing to schedule a meeting in your disturbed mind. Your mail is really, really very frustrating. But then a friend comes and he reads it. He says, Sanjeev, hang on. Let's reword it properly. So they are not going to, seen as a bad guy. And still they can schedule a meeting. Let's reword it. And that person helps you to rewrite. And you are now at ease. You have cool mind. They say, hey, thank you. And when you want to go and say thank you, you find it's not the human, it's a machine. Would you like to have this kind of friend coming to you when you join the organization? Yes or no? Yes. Big yes. That's the place where machine is going to work. And I'm not doubting about this because when I look at the machines, AI coming in 1980s, I think IBM's, that's called a Big Blue machine, which really, I don't know how many of you know Gary Kasparov, the chess champion, where the computer beat it. Deep Blue, sorry, yes, Deep Blue. It has won over Gary Kasparov in chess, the first time, and there was a euphoria across the globe. The next came in was a limited memory kind of AI. And that's where the driverless car came in. I think you're from mobility. So driverless car came in where it sees the environment, current environment, which direction, where to go, turns, GPS, and everything it follows. And of course, that machine gets stuck when the traffic police puts your hand and say, not here, go from this side, and car doesn't know what to do because the car system doesn't recognize the human being. The next comes to, like a machine which is more like a theory of mind. Now, theory of mind is a 3rd generation of AI where the humanoid, like the Sophia came in 2016, which can read your face, your emotion, the voice, and it communicates. Right? A lot of work is going on. Human to human I'm talking about. Now here, the 4th phase is self-aware AI. It is yet to come, where not only your NLP, not only the machine learning or the past experience, it is going to talk about the consciousness which the human beings have it. Machines, they don't have it. The day it happens, I don't know what is going to be the 5th generation. I can't even imagine. But yes, the things and change will come. I don't know either I could answer or not. You can, again, I'm saying it, tame it, provided you are alert today, not tomorrow.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Sanjeev. Meg, thank. Kausal, thank you. I hope all of you got some insights, some food for thought. It's an emerging field, and I leave each one to each of your thoughts that how you want to use it, because there's no definitive answer. There's no definitive answer with any one of us. It's an emerging thing. So wish all of you good luck, and thank you, Director. Thank you, professors, for having us. Thank you.
I take this opportunity to thank our speakers for such an enriching discussion and Dr. Sunil Singh for efficiently moderating the discussion. We now invite Dr. Andrew Datta, Dean, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to please felicitate the dignitaries on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, the event gave us an opportunity to participate in a thought-provoking and insightful discussions, with insights coming from gems in the field of HR in India. We are now at the closure of Symposium 2023. I would like to invite Professor Mausami Padi, Associate Dean, School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Respected Dean School of HRM, Dr. Andrew Datta, esteemed guests, faculty colleagues, students and staff. As we draw close to the end of the HR Symposium 2023, it is my honor and privilege to deliver this vote of thanks on behalf of myself and on behalf of the School of HRM. I cannot thank enough our esteemed guests, panelists and moderators who are the reason we've had a star-studded Symposium 2023. Thank you so much for making time, traveling here, taking your Saturday off to spend the day with us and sharing your knowledge with us. Sir, it was not just a food for thought, it was a feast for our thoughts. And it has triggered conversations that I think will last for the next 2 years and more. Thank you so much. There's so much we learned. Our school is but a reflection of its leadership, and we are thankful to our Vice Chancellor, Father Anthony Aruveri SJ, for his inspiring leadership. We are indebted to the Registrar, Father S. Anthony Raj, who joined us in the morning, for providing the administrative support through his team. I would also like to thank our Dean, School of HRM, Professor Andrew Datta, for being the guiding light and for his ever-abiding guidance. Our true leader, he led from the front through his involvement throughout and just being here through the arduous practice sessions that we've had. Symposium 2023 would not have been what it is, but for the back-breaking work that was done, the coordination and facilitation provided by Professor Shubhra Patnaik and Professor Arup Roy Chaudhary. Thank you so much. I wish to thank the administrative team led by Mr. Prashant Mahapatra that has been working behind the scenes to manage the logistics, food, stage, decor, etc. We are grateful to the team of Mr. Sailendra Rai for the flawless technical support and Mr. Ratiram Khaka for just standing there all through the day and putting it online. Thank you so much. We are indebted to the support extended by Mr. Digambar Rath, Ms. Sridevi Paricha, and Mr. Jagan. They have been working continuously in the background, and even now, as one student fell ill, and guests that have to be taken care of. Thank you so much. And that is why they are not here. They're just managing everything for us from outside. We wish to thank our friends from the media who made it here to provide coverage to the Symposium 2023. On behalf of the School of HRM, thank you, Team Zimar, for yet another successful event. This is your flagship event, and you've added one more feather to your cap through this successful conduct of Symposium 2023. Thank you. Thank you, Team Illuminatics. Thank you, Ashutosh, for that coverage. Thank you so much. Last but not the least, I wish to extend my thanks to the School of Human Resource Management family, my faculty colleagues, and our students. We are what we are because of you. Thank you for your support, for being here in full strength, and just being by with us. Thank you so much.
On behalf of School of Human Resource Management, XIM University, I thank you all for joining us for Symposium and helping us make it a grand event with your cooperation. I wish you all a pleasant day ahead. Thank you.